Okay, welcome to the May 7th, 2026 meeting of the Northampton City Council. I'm City Council President Rachel Maori. I'll be presiding this evening along with Vice President Deborah Clemmer. I now call the City Council to order. Could you do a roll call, Laura?
Councilor Dobbs.
Here.
Councilor Davis.
Here.
Councilor Clemmer.
Here.
Councilor Loisel.
Here.
Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Nabad.
Here.
Councilor Perry. I understand he's expected momentarily if
Yeah.
he's not already
He's
joined.
arriving late.
Okay. Councilor Robbins
Here.
and Councilor Stratton.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Okay. So as usual, this meeting and all participating in person and on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. This meeting can be watched on Comcast Channel 15 or by streaming on Northampton Open Media YouTube's channel. Thank you. Okay. Okay, there we go. So we'll begin with public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, please sign up in the sheet here in the room. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your virtual hand, which is at the bottom menu bar. Click on React and then raise hand. And if you're calling in by phone, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. If you have trouble raising your hand, you can. I'm sorry, there's something there. If you have trouble raising your hand, you can let us know by email, because we're going to have we no longer have the screens on. They shouldn't be on. See? Can you correct that? Okay. So I'll alternate between people in the room and people on Zoom. And before you begin, please state your name and your city or town for the public record. And please feel free, we encourage you to share your pronouns if you'd like to. To ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to speak, the council limits comments to a maximum of 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I will ask you to finish your sentence. If someone has already said something you agree with, feel free to just second their thought. And according to council rules, we do not respond during public comment, as it is your time to speak. Your protected speech is a constitutional right, and one that we ask you to wield with consideration and respect for all, and with recognition that this public space grants you that freedom and is shared equally by everyone. You may speak on any topic if it doesn't need to be on an item on the agenda, and all comments shall be directed to the council. Okay, let me grab the. Would you mind doing that? Oh, the sheet. Thank you so much.
Anybody else in the room want to last call?
I'll circle back again afterwards, but yeah, it's good to have something to start with. Okay, so we'll start in the room. So I see Carmen Juno. Welcome.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
Is it on green?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
great.
on green. Yeah, I can hear it. Hi, everybody. My name is Carmen Juno. I live in Florence, Straw Avenue, Ward 5. I'm here to comment on the resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities. What a moment we're in. The Trump administration is busy dismantling our institutions. There's a war on immigrants, women, social safety nets, higher education, just to name a few. And we see now that Smith College is being investigated for accepting transgender students. Regarding the immigration resolution, I am totally in favor of the revised resolution that our City Council is considering tonight. This resolution needs teeth. Immigrants are neighbors and friends who make untold contributions to our society and our community. It's beyond shameful that immigration reform has been stymied by the wish of certain politicians to keep the issue alive and use and abuse immigrants to their political advantage. We cannot sit passively by and allow masked, anonymous federal ICE agents to kidnap our fellow human beings who happen to be immigrants, or perhaps even citizens, whisk them away, deny them due process, separate children from families, hold these people in horrendous conditions. These extrajudicial kidnappings happen all around the world, and now, here, in our country, my country, where our flag is increasingly stained and tattered. The people of Minneapolis showed us how a connected community can respond to and publicize the crimes of ICE agents and give support to immigrants. Let's have that leadership here in the form of this amended resolution. Let's form a strong network of support around our immigrant families. We demand due process. We demand that everybody be able to have the freedoms guaranteed by our country. And we demand that ICE agents who perpetrate violence toward and kidnap immigrants suffer the legal consequences. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay, I'm going to go to Zoom. I see Stan Shapiro. I'm going to unmute you.
Hello,
Hi.
Stan Shapiro, 139 Vernon Street in Northampton. And I also want to speak in favor of the resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities with the city of Northampton. I'm very proud of the council and councilors and pleased to see our council take a leadership role in standing up for the law and against the abhorrent actions of ICE, the Border Patrol, and the Department of Homeland Security. In addition, I support the additional clauses proposed by Councilor Robbins and others. These challenge our law enforcement community and city to add specific and concrete steps and actions to the words spoken in this resolution and in others, and other resolutions that other towns have passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back in the room, we have Robert McGovern.
Councilors, my name is Robert McGovern, and I dare to think most of you probably weren't born when I opened Packard's Restaurant in 1977. That makes me old. I'm a veteran, past president of the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Western Massachusetts and Central Mass, and a real supporter of the Children's Advocacy Project. I'm not sure that I'm either angry or disappointed in the council. Not everybody, but Northampton was voted the best town in America. We have a beautiful downtown, and it's not Wayne's World, it's not Mish Country, and it's not Sakara City, although it could be. The Picture Main Street project and the Tool Group out of Boston really gives me a problem. I mean, I've gone through 5 mayors, multiple police chiefs, multiple fire chiefs, and DPW personnel. They're all doing a great job, and we have one of the best police forces and fire departments anywhere. The Tool Group, I'd like to know if Wayne Fiden is on their payroll. I'd like to know also is he still on the city's payroll as a consultant. To rearrange Main Street after 50 years, it's proven itself. There's 10,000 cars a day that go through our city. People come from everywhere just to study Northampton. And what's the magic? And the magic is the people. Someone in City Hall recently has said that retail is dead. What an awful thing to say. I'd like to know who was influential in starting a moratorium on car dealerships.
That's time, if you could just finish your sentence.
You treated Carla very badly, and I'm ashamed of you for doing that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. going back to Zoom. I see Rick last. I'm trying to figure out how to also unmute the video, but I think you have to do it for everybody. You can, here, Rick, you should be unmuted.
I think I am. Can you see me? I'm on my phone.
Yeah, Rick, try now with your video.
Do you see me?
I don't.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it may be something.
Yeah, I hear this one.
Yeah, I did
I
it.
just did
yeah,
start.
I'm
hearing.
usually on my computer. My computer's dead.
Okay.
But, all right. Well,
We can still hear you pretty well.
you're right. And I look pretty good. So,
I'm sorry to miss that.
okay. My name's Rick Lass. I live in Florence, and I am presently working a lot with the Massachusetts Teachers Association, doing in the statewide immigration group, and I'm also a retired member of the MTA. And I wanted to support this community safety and immigration resolution. We do need to prepare. There's been over 5,000 people detained in Massachusetts. You are our leaders. I know you want to protect this community, and I want to emphasize this urgency with a story. Mariella works as a paraprofessional in Lynn Elementary School and is a member of the Lynn Teachers Union. She volunteers to provide interpretation for community organizations and the parents of children in the schools. While balancing childcare as a single mother, she learned English, earned her associate's degree, and now is completing her bachelor's degree. Mariana is extremely proud of her son, who's 15 years old, loves to learn, and is a talented soccer player. From the early age, Mariella experienced discrimination, exploitation, poverty, and abuse based on her indigenous Mayan identity. She lived through the terrors of civil war in Guatemala that targeted indigenous communities that ravaged the country. At the age of 12, she traveled alone to Guatemala City to find work to support her family. Her life was threatened. She made the only viable choice that she saw and fled to the United States in search of safety with her unborn child. In the summer of 2013, Mariella was racially profiled while driving, then pulled over and arrested for an alleged traffic offense. Because the information was shared with local police, by local police with ICE, the incident resulted in being almost immediately placed in deportation proceedings.
Rick, could you just finish your sentence, please? That was time.
Okay. This is I want you to support this resolution because we need to prepare. There's many stories like this, and please take this small step to pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, back in the room, we have Dave Reutman.
My name's Dave Reutman. I live at the Gables in Florence, Ward 5. My comments are about the resolution on immigration. I've read the revised resolution on the Agenda Center site. I want to thank you for the revisions. Thank you. This revision is much better than the first version. By spelling out violation of state criminal law and calling on the Attorney General and DA to gather and preserve evidence of crimes, you're helping us all feel safer. This resolution and the similar policies that are popping up all around the country will cause federal agents to think twice. On April 16th, you asked residents to talk about the potential impact of a surge. Here's what I know. My dad escaped Russia after 4 years of hiding in basements. He suffered from nightmares until the day he died. Since January 2025, over 7,000 immigrants have been arrested in our state, and 46% of them had no criminal record. It's easy for me to relate to the fear that they and their families have felt, plus the countless immigrants who have stopped going to work and to school, or if they go, how they're feeling. One undocumented immigrant in our area, normally a calm person, now sends me signal messages every time they see a large black van near their home. We have a bunch of friends ready to protest if this person is detained, but we know that won't do much. In this resolution, you're taking an important step to strengthen public safety for all. I expect your action will pave the way for public education about these conditions, and hopefully an executive order from the mayor that will direct our police regarding any needed adjustment in policy and procedures. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back on Zoom. Let's see. We've got Dan Brindell. Let me unmute you. Okay, you should be unmuted.
It's not possible to turn on the camera?
Here, try now. Try now, Dan. No. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we cannot turn the video on right now. Hey, Dan, are you still there? Okay, maybe he got muted when we tried to turn the camera on. He's muted. Okay. Try. Can you speak, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You muted me when you tried to turn the
Well,
camera.
no, something else. We have there's a button that does all the participants on Zoom, and so anyway, welcome.
Sure.
Could you just state your city or town?
Yeah, Dan Brindell. I'm in Northampton in Ward 3. I wanted to address something that was presented to you guys at the last meeting, the ordinance to exempt two-family homes over 2,500 feet from site plan approval. This, as a lot of you know, is kind of personal for me. I've had a lot of experience with the sort of zoning and site plan process of the city. Site plans are a way that we alert the public. It's a way that we double check things like safety, make sure that regulations are being adhered to, ensure all kinds of adherence and respect for the community, and really allow the public to understand what's happening. And when we remove things like site plan approval, as Councilor Robbins actually pointed out through her questioning last week, that removes all of that essential process. And, you'll have the planning director will come and say, okay, well, this is just extending how many homes, for instance. It used to be 2,000, now it's going to be 2,500. The point is it's a slippery slope, and it's part of a larger project that this planning director and the planning department of this city have been undergoing for a while. In my experience and a lot of other people, the 2022 passage of the form-based code didn't go through the normal zoning mechanism. So none of us got something in the mail telling us our neighborhoods were being rezoned or our properties were being rezoned. That way, most people find out that that's been done through being told about site plan approval hearings. So this would remove that part of the public process as well. And so when you start compiling all of these things that the planning department is doing, we're removing the public from the process as if they are in some way the enemy of what we're aiming for. This public process is part of the process. It's essential. There's no reason to grease the gears to help real
Dan,
estate
that's time. Could you
developers.
finish your sentence, please?
Yeah, real estate developers are building in this town. They want to build in this town. We don't need to make it less safe for the public or less democratic for our government for them to do that.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, I'm going to go back to the room, but let me just check in. I'm not able to start their video. Laura, are you able to start Zoom participants' video? I'm not able to do it. We're going to go in the room, but if you are able,
I can change the host tools to check, uncheck the
Yeah, I
start
did that.
video generally.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay,
That did not
yeah, I
work.
see that.
Yeah, I
Let's
think it's the
try.
heightened security thing. Okay, just
Okay.
wondering. Okay, Nick.
Which-
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I haven't tried yet, so I'll.
Yeah,
try.
right. We have one,
Yeah.
we have someone in person, and then we'll go back to Zoom, and you could try and see if you have any better luck.
I would
Nick
just
Mon-
mention a lot of people now have video. So something seems to have
Yeah, but Dan couldn't, yeah, they were on before Dan, I attempted it.
Now their videos are all on.
Yeah, but that didn't work for Dan. Okay, Nick, my turn.
Yes,
Welcome.
good evening. My name is Nick Motter, and I live at 16 Strong Avenue in Northampton. And I'm certainly here to support the protection of immigrant people. But I want to ask that the City Council consider having a special session at the end of every meeting for accountability and transparency, where council members would answer questions from the public about their positions or their opinions about questions voiced by the public. I've lived here for 5 years now, almost 6 years. Other communities I've lived in, there have always been a place where the elected officials at their public meetings would answer questions that are put forward. I think that it's very important, especially at this time of huge change, where people have an opportunity to have conversations in public where their elected officials do take positions and where people do know, on a current basis, not every election, but twice a month, where people stand on the council. And I think it would increase the respect for the council, show them to be courageous and responsible. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. Okay, I see Eve. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, and we can see you.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eve Glazier. I live in Northampton in Ward 3. And last week I was arrested at L3 Harris along with 8 of my friends protesting their production of deadly weapons. And I was really moved to come speak today because I was just really struck by the extensive amount of taxpayer-funded resources that were dedicated to removing us and ensuring that this killing factory that is L3 Harris could operate business as usual. There were probably like 5 different police vehicles and a whole bunch of police officers, to the point where each of us had like pretty much one-on-one supervision over many hours, plus court resources, and I could go on. But I think this is revealing of a couple of things. One, of course, is how the police exist to protect the interests of wealthy corporations instead of the general well-being of our communities, and they should be defunded. And the other thing is it really is telling about how our taxpayer money is subsidizing L3 Harris's ability to manufacture weapons. We can't rightfully claim that the city isn't involved with them when extensive taxpayer resources are being marshaled consistently to monitor and arrest protesters in order to protect the company's operations. Might I remind you all that our L3 Harris here in Northampton is the singular manufacturer of a critical optical component to U.S. naval submarines, which carry 70% of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. So the production right here that our city's resources are aiding and abetting is significantly allowing the U.S. to have the nuclear arsenal that it does. And if we were to stop, our nuclear capacity would be greatly diminished. So I'm calling on the city to stop using our resources to protect L3 Harris and making our city such a hospitable place for their death-making practices. I should also add that the L3 Harris Corporation is involved in making technology for ICE.
Eve,
So
that's time. If you could just finish your sentence, please.
protecting our immigrant communities. And I'll also add that we should defend our right to divest from companies involved in Israeli human rights abuses, of which L3 Harris is one, strongly against the lawsuit we're facing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back in the room, we have Laura Belushi.
Whoops. I am proud to follow Eve. Yes, and I was there Didn't get arrested, but I was at L3. Laura Belushi, State Street, Ward 4. Okay, so I'm here to talk about L3 also. And I just found out on May 1st, L3 was awarded $77+ million contract to upgrade their nuclear D5 missile subsystem, which is the system that Eve was just talking about that they do in Northampton. And according to their website, as of today, quote unquote, they will reinforce confidence in, you fill in the blanks, I don't know. But DOD did, just hire them to enforce these capabilities. I don't know about you, but I'm not feeling very confident with Trump has his finger on the nuke, and Netanyahu and Putin and a bunch of other crazy people. Anyway, according to Our Planet Project today, the atomic bomb that killed approximately 150,000 people in Hiroshima was 15 kiloton. The U.S. knew what Eve is talking about, Ohio-class subfleet can be armed with 70,000 megatons that would equal 70,000 Hiroshima bombs. And this comes down to, according to some math, that would kill, and there are 6 or 8 of these submarines that are just going around, some friendly fire bomb could fall on them. But anyway, they would kill over 10 billion people in the world, but there aren't. We don't have that many people. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. All right. I see Laurel on Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Laurel Carangelo. I'm here in Ward 3. And I want to second both what Rick last said and what Eve said. I came on to talk about the community safety and immigration enforcement activities, and I want to thank Council for creating it and especially for revising it, so I support the revised version. I'm from the Immigrant Solidarity Collective. We work with Luce, we work with Wilmossin, and just hearing local stories, just a friend of mine was saying the other day, just starting with a moment from our young people, from a middle school student who my friend asked, what if you could say anything, an immigrant kid, if you could say anything to the leaders of our city, what would you want to say? And he said, tell them not to take my parents away. So here we are. Yeah, and so I really support the revised version, and I like many of you, I believe we're in times where it's time to really look out of the box, the level, seeing so many families separated from each other, seeing the level of chaos and cruelty, and it just not having any, nothing within any system or laws that we can understand. One of the things that Rick said that I really want to second is the piece about when police pulling people over for minor infractions and then that information being sent to ICE. In Philadelphia, they've instituted a program of police pulling people over for minor infractions. It seems like a big change, but in this sort of situation where we personally know also, Rick, quite a few people that have been pulled over for minor infractions, including something, having speeding now, but in the past having not had a license because you weren't allowed to have a license in the past, who have been deported and who were the main caregivers of their family. And I'm talking in Northampton. And so if we can we can be bold and add to this resolution what Philadelphia has done, and I'll send you council members the examples.
That's time if you could just finish up the sentence, please.
Yeah, thank you. Also, what Boston is doing in terms of legal counsel, the laws are changing. The actual situation in places where people are doing check-ins is so different, and so to have there be pro bono lawyer consults in Northampton and surrounding cities the way they are in Boston.
Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Back in the room, we have Emily DiMartino.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Emily. I use they and them pronouns. I live in Northampton. I wanted to speak in support of the resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement. Safety for all community members, regardless of citizenship status, country of origin, language, political belief, is vital, and policing does not make us safer. Yes, accountability and oversight of local, state, and federal police is a moral imperative, so thank you. But I encourage the city to further restrict the scope and funding of local police. This moment in U.S. history, where masked police are abducting people of all ages based on racist assumptions about immigration status, reflects not a unique occasion, but an ongoing theme. Policing is a racist institution designed to control and marginalize populations. We saw in February that the Northwestern ADA convicted a Worcester ICE protester. As reported by the Shoestring, in that May 2025 ICE raid, federal agents seized a woman with an open asylum case. Community members showed up to resist the deportation, and Worcester police cleared a path for the ICE vehicle, then tackled one of the women's daughters as she ran after it. 287G agreements are limited in Massachusetts, but these evil incentives for local police and sheriff's departments parlay up traffic stops into cash for their departments and reflect how intertwined all domains of policing are. ICE and non-immigration police are two sides of the same coin. As Rick said, over 5,000 people have been detained in Massachusetts, and here in Massachusetts, we have an incarceration rate of 241 per 100,000 people, a higher percentage of our people than almost any democratic country on earth. I encourage City Council to broaden the lens of this resolution and revisit the reports and recommendations of the city's Policing Review Commission. Specifically, the city must evaluate police funding and eliminate officers at construction sites. State and local traffic codes list hundreds of non-safety traffic offenses, and police use traffic stops to go on criminal fishing expeditions.
That's time if you could just
targeting
finish your
people
sentence,
of
please.
color. Who is policing for? Who or what is being served? Is policing about safety, control, or cruelty? Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Laura, could you make Councilor Perry a co-host? I see he's on Zoom, but he's not a co-host. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Back to Zoom. We have is it Tusi? Welcome. Tussie? Let me see.
Issues.
Yeah. Oh, good. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, this is Tusi Gastongay. I live in Florence in Ward 5, and I want to comment on two things. First of all, I strongly support the new resolution regarding ICE. I think those of us who are able to be visible and speak out need to do so for those folks who have to be in hiding. So I appreciate very much that the City Council revised that resolution. And the second thing I'd like to speak about is the ordinance to exempt two-family homes over 2,500 square feet from site plan approval. And I strongly disagree with this. I do hope that you will say no to it. It rewards developers to run ripshod over our policies, which they have done many times in the past because we've allowed them to, and with no oversight by the residents. So I hope you will say no to this resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Back in the room, we have Jane Myers. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jane Myers, 74 Straw Avenue in Florence. I believe the current version of tonight's revised immigration resolution is a good one, but it still needs to be much stronger. Several of the statements begin, quote, "be it resolved," are only self-evident expressions of general beliefs and attitudes or aspirations rather than a call for action steps. For example, quote, "all residents deserve to live without fear of discrimination," or, quote, "the council reaffirms its commitment to protect the rights of all members." Stronger, actionable resolution statements are needed. This city council did find its way to very strong language last September in its resolution on human rights violations in Israel and Gaza, calling for and, quote, urging several spelled out specific actions by the mayor and other city agencies regarding divestment from entities found complicit in human rights violations in Israel and Palestine. So the current resolution requires at least the same level of urging of specific actionable commitments, because now we're dealing not with countries across the world, but with what's happening to those who live in fear and danger in our own community, in our neighborhoods, in our schools. Tonight's resolution needs to call upon, to urge the mayor and other city officials to, among other actions, work with the police and other public safety officials and advocacy agencies and city departments to gather evidence and not to share information with ICE, to urge our mayor and other city officials to swiftly develop and implement protocols for protecting the safety and civil rights of all residents, and more. This resolution needs more forceful language, urging our city leaders to take all actionable legal steps to protect our own community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, I see Kristen Elde on Zoom. Good evening, Kristen.
Hi there.
Oh,
Hi.
hey.
Kristen, Ward 7. I'd like to simply echo the powerful comment made by previous speaker and fellow immigrant solidarity organizer Laurel, as well as those of Emily, Rick, and Tusi, and the person who just spoke, whose name I can't remember. I'd also like to thank you, counselors, for showing up for our immigrant community members in these horrific times via this. Can I get it ready? Sorry for the. Via this revised resolution, with support of and hope for a further revised version, again, per previous speakers' comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay. That was it for the list. If there's anyone in the room who'd like to speak, you could just come up. And then we'll go back to Zoom after.
Thank you. My name is Julio Alves. I live in Ward 4, and I want to thank you for the resolution, and especially the revised version. I urge you, however, to be as firm and strong and forceful, as was said earlier, with the language as possible, because I am also an immigrant, now a naturalized citizen. It breaks my heart to see what's happening right now. And I can imagine it, I can live it right now, but I can imagine what it would have meant for my family. But I also was born and grew up in a dictatorship. So I also know that this is just the beginning, right? These ICE activities are just the beginning. This is the test ground for what's to come. They are testing this out on the most vulnerable population, but they will not stop there if they are left unchecked. So I urge us to take a really strong stand and a broad stand and be as forceful as we possibly can if you are willing to entertain another revision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on Zoom, I see Sarah Backrack. Sarah?
Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. I also want to speak to the resolution to protect our immigrant neighbors and friends. I think the resolution is wonderful, except that it has no teeth. So I would really implore the city councilors to ask the mayor to order where she has authority to order. And that's around the police and their actions. It's around investigations and supporting immigrants. It's investigating any crime that's committed by the enforcement officers, not just standing by. It's not communicating with ICE when they do a car stop or see an immigrant that they think isn't a citizen. And the mayor has the authority to really control what the police do, rather than just a resolution, which is very nice language. I have friends and relatives who work in the kitchens in Northampton, caregivers who provide care to seniors as we age, who are not necessarily U.S. citizens. And they're living in fear and trepidation. One friend of mine is a U.S. citizen, but he has an accent and he has darker skin, and he carries around a copy of his passport because he's so afraid of being taken away from family. We are Northampton. We're very liberal. We live in a bubble, which I really appreciate. But I would agree with the previous speaker that this is only the beginning. And ICE and other federal immigration enforcement will come to our city, will come to Springfield, will hurt our neighbors and friends. And I implore the city council to ask the mayor to enforce and order rules like Amherst did. I'd also ask her and ask the city council to write to have our attorney general enforce criminals or enforce any criminal acts that are done by
Sarah, that's time. If you could just
enforcement.
finish your sentence, please.
Okay. I would just ask the city councilors to get the attorney general and get the mayor to do some ordering and to follow up on supporting our immigrant neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to check back in the room. Hey, Jen.
Good evening. I am Jen Neri. I'm in Ward 3. I also support the resolution that's being discussed tonight. I'm very, very happy that you guys are doing that. On a separate note, I was really, really gratified last week to see the PVPC approve the Mass DOT funding for Picture Main Street. I'm really glad to know that Eversource is going to only hold us up somewhat and not for years on end. So I'm really happy that that funding is ready to go when we are ready to use it. I was also sent, I am the keeper of the strongtownsnorthampton.org website. So I was sent to share by Craig Della Penna, some research on the economic impact of rail trails, basing a lot of the work on the Erie Canal rail trail and the economic impact of that. We are going to be the intersection of the Mass Central Rail Trail, which will run from Boston through here, and then also the New Haven Northampton Rail Trail, which will end here. So there's a lot of economic impact coming our way. Picture Main Street, I am told, will probably be inadequate for bikers with the number of bikes that we are likely to see. So really excited about that future. And I just urge all of the players in the city to expand the All Ages and Abilities Network that we're going to need to connect with our Main Street and connect our Main Street to everything else in the city. So go bikes. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, let me check. I see Dr. Makaborski. Can you unmute on Zoom? Where'd she go? Melissa, can you unmute?
Let's see her.
Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe that's it for Zoom. How about in the room? Any other? Oh, did she come back? Okay, she's trying.
Oh, she's there somewhere.
Let me just check. Yeah, she's there.
Yes,
Hold on,
yes,
ask
she
to
is.
mute.
There she is.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, we can.
Okay. Okay, I was getting a message that the host wasn't allowing me to unmute. Makaborski, I live in Northampton. I want to thank Nick, the previous public commenter. I think that's a fabulous idea, and I really hope that we can start to do that. I would like to encourage everyone to please watch the most recent Finance Committee meeting where Scanlon gave his presentation on the audit. And I want to express some concerns. Firstly, not to respond directly to another public commenter, but no money has been released for Picture Main Street. The TIP is being developed by PVPC, but there's been no money released. As far as local funds for Picture Main Street, I'm very concerned that the chair of the Finance Committee, who is Councilor Clemmer, the Ward 2 Council rep, doesn't know that multiple $1 million of municipal funds are going to be needed for this project. I know that as a member of the public because I've seen documents that say that. The city knows it. The city hasn't shared that with the council. And this project is on the tip for 2027 or 2028. Why don't you have that information if I do? You'll have it soon, but I want you to know that the city knows. And Director Mish knows, and she's talking to property owners, and she's making arrangements for money that was meant for the schools to be used to get property, right of way, betterments for this project. We need to get the money back to the kids. There's no time to waste. The kids need the money. Let's do it now.
That's time, Marissa,
Thank
if you could, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, anyone, that's it for Zoom. Anyone else in the room would like to make a comment before we move on? Okay, thank you everyone for your comments and for coming out tonight. We're going to move on to announcements from councilors and the mayor. And after that, we will hear from our state rep. Okay, hi, yes.
Two announcements. Just wanted to announce the Mother's Day March, which is happening on Saturday at 10:30 from 33 Holly Street to First Churches. And this has been going on for a number of years. And the second thing is Legislative Matters is meeting on Monday at 5:30. There'll be a public hearing about a zoning change ordinance related to two-family homes. So that's at 5:30, and several other things on the agenda. It's on the city calendar website.
Okay, great. Just looking for Councilor Perry in case. Councilors? Yes, Mayor. Go ahead. No, go for it.
I'll go after you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just want to address what Marissa Masaborski said, since she named me. I am very aware of the...
We're not supposed to talk.
Oh, against... Oh, okay, never mind.
Why don't you make your announcement and then... Yep, and then I thought Councilor... Yes, I see Councilor Perry also has...
Okay, I hope I'm not stealing his thunder.
No.
Good evening, councilors. I want to announce that May is National Bike Month, and in Northampton we're celebrating next week as National Bike Week, so that's May 11th through the 17th. Wednesday, May 13th is the 27th annual Bike Breakfast happening in Pulaski Park. There'll be refreshments and information from local bicyclists and nonprofits working to support the city's safe and accessible streets. So that's from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. again in the park. This whole week, there are a ton of events. If you go to nohobikeweek.com, you can learn more about them. I won't go through all of them because there are a ton, but I'll just highlight a couple of them or a few. There's the Great Tree Ride on Saturday, May 9th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., starting in the Roundhouse parking lot, where you stop and look at some of Northampton's coolest trees. I've been on it. It's a really, really cool ride. There's also free bike repair on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Forbes Library. There's a bike tour of conservation properties in Ward 3 on Tuesday, May 12th at 5:30 p.m. There's a Bike Week social Thursday, May 14th at 6 p.m. at the Dirty Truth. And again, many more. So go to nohobikeweek.com. And I also want to say that the city was once again recognized as Tree City USA with recognition from the Arbor Day Foundation. And it's in honor of its commitment to plant, grow, and maintain trees to benefit the community. For 2025, all the work that we did in 2025 we're being recognized for. And we also received a Growth Award for demonstrating improved levels of tree care and community engagement. So congratulations to our tree warden, Rich Parsletti, the Urban Forestry Commission, and to many residents and volunteers who work to grow and protect our tree canopy. And I enjoyed planting trees with many of you. With others of you, I've planted trees in the past for Arbor Day week. So again, thank you everyone who helps keep our tree canopy alive and growing and expanding.
Thanks. Yeah, congratulations on the Tree City. Okay, let me find our, okay, yeah, I see Councillor Perry, and then I'll go to you, Councillor. Let me just find Councillor Perry. There. Nope.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, there you are. Hey.
Yay! Sorry, I'm not there
That's okay.
in person to hug everyone. But a couple things. One is that we have a legislative matters meeting that I think Councillor Loisel talked about, but we're going to have at our upcoming community resources meeting presentations about Picture Main Street.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about accessibility. We're going to talk about a number of things. So that is on May 18th. Everyone show up and hang out and learn about it. If not, it'll be posted for everyone. I also wanted to mention that on Saturday, May 16th, there is the Rise Fest, which is at Northampton High School from 11 to 4. And that is a celebration for youth and arts and self-expression. So please take note of that. And again, I will continue saying that we are having our first Juneteenth celebration on June 6th in Northampton at the Ejig Air Plaza. So put it on your calendars, tell people about it. Let's get really excited about that.
Councillor Perry, what time was the meeting on the 18th? The community resource meeting with the update for about Picture Main Street?
That is at, I believe, 5:30.
Yeah, I don't know if we posted it yet, so but I just
We have
wanted
not
to give.
posted it yet, so
That's
it'll
fine.
be
I just wanted that ballpark to tell folks. Yeah, 5:30ish. Okay, but check the city the city calendar in case that changes. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, Councillor Perry. That's great. Any other? Oh yes, Councillor Bob.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to make an announcement that May 15th is the deadline for people to sign up if they want to participate in the Shared Abundance Garden Program. So May 17th would be the pickup for materials. So if you want to sign up to be a Shared Abundance gardener and grow food for people, for any old person who comes through your yard, or if you have a spot where you can host a little Shared Abundance garden, you can, let's see, you can go to CBI. You can contact CBI at 237 Prospect Street, and I think that's right, Northampton. And sign up. You can sign up. So I'm sorry, I don't have the website. I should be better prepared. But for anybody who knows where CBI is, you can also stop down there anytime. And Nat, the farm manager, is there, and he will work with you. Thank you.
Great. Any other announcements? Okay, so we're going to move on. Next, we are fortunate to have our state rep, Lindsay Sabadosa, here. She's going to discuss the FY27 state budget and supplemental budget and maybe give us some updates. So welcome. So nice to have you. We've had you at our subcommittees, but this is a real treat having you in our full council.
Well, thank you. And is it possible to pull up the presentation?
Yeah, I
so
think
that everybody
Laura, let me see.
Can follow along.
Let me just see. Trying to find Laura. She has your, I think. This one.
Hey there.
There we go. Yeah, I think it's. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. So if we could just get it into slideshow mode.
Yeah, let's see. I think. Thank you, Laura.
think where it says slideshow at the top is what you need. And then just from beginning, when you click on that, from beginnings all the way down at the end.
At the other end?
Yeah.
And then if...
Up at the top, all the way to the left. Thank you.
All right, there we go.
There we go. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation to come tonight. I always appreciate being able to come to City Council and share information with you. This is going to be very compressed because I was told 10 minutes, and we're going to be talking about 2 different budget bills that were passed within that time frame. And so I see we've already moved over to the next slide, which I'm not quite sure why it's displaying that way, but you get the idea. So I wanted to start off this evening just going through the budget timeline. And actually, apologies, I think I need to, there we go. Go to the next slide. So the budget, I just wanted to start off with the budget timeframe and where we are in the process. So as many of you know, the governor announced her budget back in January. We then started a process, and myself and Senator Comerford, so all of your state level elected officials are on the Ways and Means Committee. We started the process of traveling across the state to attend the Ways and Means hearings. So if you didn't see me a lot in February and March, it was because I was sitting through very long hearings. We usually tally the number of hours that we sit through these, but I think we hit at least 70 hours of hearings. And those hearings are broken down by subject matter. So there was a hearing just on education, 2 hearings actually on healthcare, and we'll talk about that in a bit, a hearing on transportation, the environment. So if there is a secretariat in the state government, there is a hearing during which their budget is discussed. In the middle of that process, so actually in the middle of it, the House, and I'm only going to talk about the House proceedings tonight. I will let you invite Senator Comerford to share the Senate side so that I don't misspeak. But in the middle of that, the House took up what we call the fair share budget. So the fair share, which is the millionaire's tax, sometimes referred to as the millionaire's tax, it is that 4% surtax on any money made over $1 million. It has continued to provide significant funds to the Commonwealth. Some of that money, you will see later, we'll talk about how it's included in the traditional FY27 budget. But some of that, which is kind of like the icing, the extra that we didn't know we were going to get, we pass as a fair share budget. And that happened on March 18th. So that's why we're talking about 2 bills tonight, because you really can't talk about the state budget without discussing both. Then the House on April 15th released our version of the fiscal year 27 budget. We passed it on the 29th, and it got punted over to the Senate. The Senate just released their version on May 5th, so Tuesday of this week, and they'll be taking up that budget within the next 2 weeks. So my advice to all of you is if there is something you do not like in the budget you hear tonight, there is still time to talk to the Senate. So just a quick overview of sort of where we are in the process. As I said, I'm compressing basically a $63 billion budget in 10 minutes. But you'll note that there's a fair amount of consistency between what the governor suggested, what the House ended with, and what the Senate just proposed. Now, I mentioned that fair share budget. We used $2.7 billion of fair share funds within this House budget. The Senate is going to do exactly the same. And this is about a 3.8% increase over the last fiscal year. So this is not a huge growth budget. This is a very moderate growth budget, and I will talk a little bit more about why. But before we get into FY27, if we could go to the next slide, Laura, please. I want to talk about that fair share supplemental we passed. So we used 2.7 in the FY27. The remaining 1.8 was in this supplemental budget. Now, I
personally knocked doors for the Fair Share Amendment with many of you in this room, so I know that you know it's supposed to be divided between education and transportation. If you look at the numbers on the screen, you will see that this supplemental budget leaned much heavier onto the transportation side. When we look at the FY27 budget, you'll see that it slants much heavier towards, this one slants much higher towards transportation. The FY27 goes more towards education, which is why you really do have to look at them as a package. But this bill went a little bit further. It did some important things, like making sure that we took care of any deficiencies that were left over from FY26. And we also dealt with tax conformities. So it is a surprise to no one. The federal government passed a bill that they sometimes call the One Big Beautiful Bill. We just call it OB3 because I find very little beautiful in it. And it had a lot of tax changes that affect the state. What we have done is delay the majority of those tax changes because first of all, we don't really know the total number if we implemented those changes, how they would affect the state budget, but we know that it would take revenue away from the state. Now, we have to also look at that along with the changes that are happening to the SNAP program, which is going to cost the state more, the changes that are coming to Medicaid, which will also push more onto the state. And so we're trying to be judicious about how we do these things. So back over to the FY27 budget. As I mentioned, this budget includes the surtax spending, and here I underscored, it is a 55-45 split with 55% of the funds going towards education. And I'll break that down a little bit more on the next slide. This budget also works to try to close the gap because if we want to continue to fund services with the federal dollars that are coming in, we have about a $3.5 billion gap between what we think we're going to have and what we need to spend in order to just maintain our services. And so we did that through use of capital gains, use of some one-time revenue, and a lot of conversation about the Mass Health program. We did not take up a lot of policy in this budget. And I didn't include all of the slides, but if you look in the past, there are budgets where we implemented 55 different policy changes. Here, the House came in with about 21, which is actually very small. Some of the things that we did, though, we're really trying to get the teacher retirement benefits through. It's something the House has passed a few times. Now, it gives teachers the option of buying in if they hadn't already. We passed a provision about large employer health care benefits. One of the things that has been very frustrating is that we have many very large employers in the Commonwealth, and their employees are not being compensated at a level that would they're being compensated at a level that qualifies them for Mass Health. So our argument is if you are a big employer, you should be paying your employees, and they should not have to be on Mass Health. They should be getting health care through your business. One of the biggest expenses in Mass Health, and as I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of Mass Health because this is a huge chunk of our budget, over 30%, was dental benefits. And so there's a lot of conversation about what that should look like. And finally, there is policy around the safety net transfers. So safety net funding is what is used if someone goes to the hospital and they do not have health insurance. So hospitals cannot turn people away. They must stabilize them, but there is no insurance to pay. And so safety net is sort of the last resort, a pool of money available to pay for that care. With changes to Medicaid, we anticipate that more people will not have health insurance. More people will go to the emergency room for care because they will not be able to afford to go to their primary care doctors. And therefore, there will be more of a need to tap into safety net funding. So we're trying to predict what might come down the line. And I just want to say these slides have lovely graphics that are for some reason not appearing. So I will share them afterwards and you can see that. I really hope the next graphic shows up. We're going to education next. So just back one, Laura. There we go. So I wanted to break out a few categories here. And so the first one I wanted to talk about is education funding. So the House, just FY27, invests $1.73 billion in education. And we put this as a pie chart, and we could probably break this out even more in a few categories, particularly higher education and early childhood. But I wanted you to see the biggest chunk of what we are doing is that last and final year of the Student Opportunity Act expansion funding. So that is about 31%. We also have 11.5 as the continuation of the universal school meals. I will say myself, and I think every single one of my colleagues are very proud that we are one of the few states that has retained universal free school meals for students, and we want to keep doing that. We also did some investments in school transportation reimbursements that will be important. And I'm happy to break that down if there are questions afterwards a little bit more. I do have more detail. But in a general scope, this is what education funding looks like. If we could move to the next slide. And so then we have transportation. Now, I just want to underscore this slide so that you all see what we are up against. Because as you can see, about 48.2% of transportation funding is going to the MBTA. Now, I will never argue that we should not give money to the MBTA. It is important. However, you all know that the MBTA does not serve our district or most of well, at least half of the state. And so we are constantly trying to push more funding into the RTA service, which for us is the PVTA or the FRTA, depending on where you might be tuning in from, and the Health and Human Services transportation, which is really important for getting people to their doctor's appointment. I just want to flag the Mass Transportation Trust Fund because there was some conversation about capital transportation investments. This is money that goes into that trust fund that helps fund those MassDOT programs. It's often leveraged through bond bills, so it's sort of the base that they have in order to then borrow from. But that's where we are putting state dollars into those capital projects. Next slide, please. So again, beautiful graphic missing, but alas. Healthcare spending, as I mentioned, is the largest part of our state budget. And we know that this is an ever-growing expense. We want to keep people on healthcare in Massachusetts, but we know that with the changes, there are going to be more uninsured individuals. So we are trying to figure out how we keep Mass Health a robust program, but also how we contain costs. So a lot of this, for the moment, is still paid for by federal reimbursement. So you'll see there's a net spend of $22.41 billion, but after we take away the federal reimbursements, we are actually, as a state, from our revenues, let me just flip this slide here. We're only spending $8.27 billion. This is a little bit higher than the governor's budget. It's certainly higher than we spent last fiscal year because healthcare costs are growing. And I think the Senate budget is going even higher for healthcare spending. In this, one of those few policy proposals is a cap on adult dental benefits in Mass Health. And I will say this has been one of the most hotly debated topics because, as you all know, dental care is extremely expensive. And it is one of the biggest cost drivers in Mass Health. So we're trying to figure out how to balance keeping those costs down, but also making sure that people have access. And I'll talk more about one of the policy changes that we have to help address that. We've also put in about $30 million for nursing facility rates. Obviously, long-term care is an ever-increasing segment of our budget. It will be. Our state is an older state. We know that more people are going to need these services. Frankly, I don't think this is enough money, but it was the amount that we were able to get in this year. And then because it is pertinent for the city of Northampton, the GIC budget came in at $3.2 billion. But I want to note there's been a lot of debate this year with the GIC about GLP-1 coverage, for sure. But also the board at the GIC voted down increasing deductibles and copays. However, the state budget currently does not fund that. So there will be shifts at some point with the GIC this fiscal year. Now, I'll say at this point, and I've said it to anyone who's asked, if the state budget changes, if there are more revenues that come in, if there's a change in the midterm elections and some provisions of OB3 are not implemented the way we thought, then we can change this. Like, we can always go back and add more money, but this is what we needed to think about at this current moment. The next slide, please. And finally, the last section that I chose to include just for tonight is under housing, because it's certainly one that I know is really important. And I want to emphasize when I talk about housing here, we are not talking about building new housing. This is not about investments in different areas. This is about really stabilization, keeping people in housing and through the shelter system. So we had increases to, I think, two of the most important programs that we run as a state. The first, I just used the abbreviations, so bear with me. It's the MRVP program. That's the mass rental voucher program. So that is a program that Massachusetts runs. They're vouchers that we issue to our people. They are not affected by the federal government. And I think that's really important, because the federal government is doing a lot right now through HUD to change eligibility and what the criteria might look like just to be in housing. We've submitted a lot of public comments recently to HUD. But MRVP is ours, so we get to control it. And that, I think, is increasing that number of vouchers is probably one of the most important things that we can do to keep people housed. The second point is about RAFT. RAFT is a program that you can apply to if you are having trouble paying your mortgage, paying your rent, paying your utilities. It is really about keeping you where you are and offering bridge funding. And frankly, there's never enough in our area of the state. Is one of the, I think, the top user of the RAFT program. It may first or second. So we increased that, still not by as much as the need would require, but there was an increase. And then there is also a small increase to homeless individual shelters and to the winter bed program. We are, I think, struggling as a state to figure out the right balance for those shelters. We want people to have the temporary shelter, but what we really want to do is get people into housing. And so figuring out how we navigate those pieces will be part of an upcoming policy bill. But for right now, this is just the money piece. So, I'm sorry, I clicked to the next slide, but next slide, please. There we go. So I just want to underscore for everyone in the room things that you may already be thinking about, but these were the challenges that we talked a lot about in the budget. So first of all, just general uncertainty, the federal government, the war in Iran and global conflict, increasing inflation. It makes it really hard to understand what the cost of things is going to be. And when it comes to tangible goods that we need in order to run some of these programs, we can't really predict what is going to happen. We know what it costs today. We don't know what it's going to cost 3 months from now. There are, of course, the ballot questions. Now, there's been some changes even since the House passed its budget. There was a court case where it looked like maybe this ballot question to reduce the state income tax from 5% to 4% has some issues with it. We don't know if it will go forward. There's also a ballot question that says we would have to not spend but return any money if a certain threshold was hit. And we don't know what will happen to that. But those ballot questions would go into effect in January. So that is the middle of our fiscal year. We cannot predict if they will pass or won't pass or if they'll be allowed on the ballot. But we have to understand, you have to understand, rather, that if that goes into effect, it would be about a $5 billion cut to our budget. And we would have to cut programs that I'm talking to you about today. So we would have to go back and find that money and take it out. Now, that can always happen if revenues go down and the picture gets worse and worse, but that ballot question would ensure that it would happen, and it would happen in January. And then finally, ever-changing federal policy. We know that OB3 has gone into law. We don't know all of the implications and exactly the effects of each piece, because once a bill becomes a law in the federal government, it goes through rulemaking, there are decisions, and the federal government has been rather volatile in what they say is going to happen and what may or may not happen and when. So we know about SNAP, we know about healthcare. We just saw the proposed federal budget from the president. It has about an $8 billion cut to states for education funding, cuts to housing. Really, the only thing that was increased was military spending. So, with all of that, the states are in a difficult position, and we look forward to a time when we have federal partners again. The last slide, I just put my contact information for anyone who might not have it. And I'm happy to, of course, answer any questions from council. And if there's anyone sitting behind me who has questions, please feel free to reach out. I will address them and delve into any part of the budget that we didn't really get to discuss this evening. How did I do on time?
I didn't even time you. I just got in your head. Thank you so much. I think we have time for, if we have any questions for our representative from council. And yes,
I am going to call you because there's
Please.
a big one I have in there, and I don't need to take up time, but that was great, and thank you very much.
It was a very brief overview, so happy to sit down and talk more in depth about it.
It's pretty depressing, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me make sure there's no. Councilor Perry. Oh, yep, Councilor Perry. Oh, why are you not? Okay, can you there? Okay, wait. There you are.
Thank you, Representative Savadosa, for that overview, and it is dire. One thing I wanted to say is that you talked about how healthcare is difficult. Did not touch upon the fact that it is even more difficult to find a primary care physician. And so we're living in a time where there are people who are working for different organizations. As you said, there's a lot of people who have money who are not providing health care. Yep. And I think that it is reflective upon the situation why people go to ER and emergency care. People who are working in the service industry, people who are low income, who don't have health care are really feeling this crunch. And I'm very thankful that you guys are thinking about and working on trying to figure out how to deal with that situation. There is no answer to it that I see, but it is these conversations that bring it to the public that are important. So thank you for that.
Of course. And again, I only talked about budget in this presentation, but there are several bills that we are working to move forward from the Healthcare Financing Committee, which I'm happy to serve on, around primary care, around affordability, around alternative payment models. So it is on our thoughts daily.
Councilor Davis.
One of my questions may not be seen as a budget question, but sure. I just with regards to the unhoused populations, yes. And you had said something like our focus this for now was about shelters of various kinds,
stabilization
versus development.
Yep.
Was that a whole discussion about this is the urgent piece?
No, so it's actually just because of how bills move through the process, right? So because the FY27 budget is focused on programs that are run through the different secretariats, this would be funding for all of the programs, and I didn't touch on all of them. There are certainly others that go through the Secretariat of Housing and Livable Communities. When it comes to, and there'll be a policy bill around housing as well that will address bigger questions about development, building, whatever you might want to call it. And then, of course, there's always the housing bond bill, which is really how we do like the bulk of capital expenses, because we can't pay for them at, right up front. So we use, there's always a sort of like stabilization fund that's used to borrow from, or to leverage in order to borrow. And then that helps to pay for that development. So it's not that we didn't want to talk about more in the budget. It's just that it wasn't the proper vehicle, and there will be many other vehicles to move housing priorities.
I wasn't suggesting one is better than the other.
Oh, no.
All I was just wondering, these hard decisions have to get made, and so I was just wondering, okay, let's do this. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I think as I said about the policy piece, usually or historically, the budget has been a place where more policy gets put in. So like there may be housing policy or that was included in the past. In this budget, we just really didn't do that. And I think it is a reflection of sort of where we are and the need to move things forward more quickly. And, we're hearing that the Senate has a little more policy. The Senate traditionally does. But I think even they are a little bit lighter this time, just because we want to make sure this money moves quickly. Of course.
Well, this is dire, but I take solace in our great representation. And when I went to the State House, I was really proud who we're sending from Western Mass. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here to help us frame this as we enter our own budget deliberations.
I don't envy you, so thank you for that.
Yes, our budget hearings are only 12 hours, not 70.
It's okay. We have the whole state.
Yeah, who knows?
But I'm happy to come back at any point, and truly, please don't hesitate to reach out with anything.
It was great. This has been really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm hoping also to schedule Senator Comerford as well. Yeah, we've been discussing that. Okay. Thank you. That was excellent. We are going to, how are counselors doing? Okay. Yeah, we're going to take a 10-minute recess, which would put us back here at, let's just say, at 8 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to City Council. We're on to the consent agenda. Thanks again to our state rep, Lindsay Sabadosa, for her presentation on their budget. It was great having her here. And yeah, so the consent agenda, I'm going to read through it, and counselors, let me know if you have any removals. First, we have the minutes of April 16th, 2026. We have an order 26.057, an order to reprogram funds for JFK roof design. We have 26.058, appointments to various committees, positive recommendations, city services, with the process note that 2 of the ones on the last agenda have meeting's agenda were withdrawn. So we have Rachel Simpson for the Historical Commission. D, we have 26.060, applications for renewal of secondhand dealer licenses. We've got Born Again Vintage and Consignment, the Family Jewels, the Gold Standard, Mill River Music, and the V&A Hospice Shop. And finally, 26.061, petitions for weekday and Sunday pool table licenses, Northampton Bowl. Okay. Yes, Councilor Robbins.
Yes, could I please pull 26.057? Thank you.
Okay. 057. Looking for Councilor Perry. Any other removals from the agenda for discussion? And then we'll vote for the remainder as a group. Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda without 26.057.
I make a motion to approve the
Second.
consent agenda without 26.057.
Okay, great. Counselor, I'm looking at Counselor Nabad. You are not Laura. Laura, Counselor Clemmer motioned and second by Counselor Stratton. Thank you. No problem. No, thank you. Okay, yes, roll call. Thank you.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
Yes.
And Counselor Stratton.
Yes.
Okay. So those all pass, are approved, and we're going back to 26.057 in order to reprogram funds for the JFK roof design, and this is in second reading. Let's see, the history referred to the consent agenda, April 16th, and then order revised to satisfy MSBA accelerated repair program requirements at April 30th. Yes, Councilor Robbins.
Yes, I'm going to reiterate what I shared at the first reading, in which I think, all received messages from members of the school committee asking us to please, I know that it's maybe controversial about whether or not this is a charter obligation. There are differing opinions on it, but the school committee members who are in charge of making sure that they have the funds to run their schools and who would like to be apprised of what's happening in their schools, and that includes major construction, and be the ones to really be the first pass-through on this before a recommendation comes to us. We are still making an independent decision on it, but I started to look a little bit more closely at the JFK roof design piece, and I found it very confusing. I went back and looked at the discussion that the former council had about this NPS energy project, about the funding of this. It came from 2 different sources. It was reprogrammed. There was a lot of controversy over the tennis court money, but we talked a little bit about it last time. It's the tennis court money, and it was the basketball court money. It's money from the Leeds Energy Project, which was apparently taken care of by city staff, so there was fund available to move forward. There are a lot of different moving parts to this, and it really it feels a little superficial for us to say, okay, bingo, we're going to pass it, and it doesn't mean it's not a great idea. But I feel very strongly that the school committee really takes responsibility for knowing that this is money that is being spent the way that they are part of that conversation, and that they are part of the function and design of a recommendation that comes to us. And it's, it may not be at this point something that is legally written into the books. I would ask that it be a courtesy that we afford to the school committee. And the fact that we've had, I think, 2 very strong requests by members of the school committee to do so should be respected.
Thank you. Councillor Loisel.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I talked to somebody from the school committee, the vice chair, Elena Bartoli, and she doesn't feel the way Member Stein does. She asked that we pass this today. So I don't think that the school committee, my point is that I don't think the school committee has worked together on this, and so I'm not persuaded by that.
Can I respond, please? That you might not have been able to check your email, but you also received one from Renika.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Michael Stein is chair of Budget and Property for the school committee, which is a different voice. They don't operate the way that we do in terms of saying maybe our chair comes and represents us there. So that would be one more opinion that you might think about. But it wouldn't hurt us to send it back to them to have a look.
My only point is that they're not unanimous on this. So.
Okay. So thank you. I see the mayor. So we have, okay. So I'll go to the mayor, Councillor Clemmer, and then Councillor Perry, and then Councillor Nabad. So mayor.
So just to that point, only the vice chair, I'm not saying the vice chair was speaking for the school committee, but only the vice chair can speak for the school committee. As the voice of the school committee. Individual school committee members can't represent the school committee other than the vice chair. And just to remind you all, and actually I don't need to remind you, Councillor Davis, but the school committee voted to authorize the start of this MSBA process for this roof project. So they authorized that this begin and you start on this path to get MSBA funding for the roof.
Yeah, just can I clarify about the vice chair said I'm not speaking on behalf of the school committee, but I wanted to know if the letter we got from Member Stein was speaking for the school committee, and she said no, and that she would prefer that we passed it.
Thank you. Councillor Clemmer and then Councillor Perry.
Yeah, I spoke to Member Bartoli too and asked the same question, and I also emailed Member Stein after I got his email at 2:00 today, and asking if he did speak to anybody else. He said he didn't, and but the charter says the school committee oversees ordinary maintenance, which is paid out of the school budget. The city owns the buildings and is in charge of capital projects to protect our buildings. These are capital projects and do not fall under the ordinary maintenance, so they are not under the purview of the school committee. And the roof is leaking. I mean, I don't know what the question is about this, why there's even a question why we should wait, but the Mass School Building Authority will share the cost through their program, and we are fortunate to have the extra money and extra savings. We are not taking money from reserves, which is a wonderful thing. Money from tennis courts will be reprogrammed for this project. The roof needs to be replaced. Tony is an expert and is overseeing the project. And we are lucky that the tennis courts, they're beautiful. I saw them last week when we were planting trees, and they did a great job, and they came in under budget, which is unusual and fortunate for us. So, and Renika, I asked Member Stein if anybody else agreed with him about this, and then 5 to 6 Renika, I can't remember her last name. Montgomery Tamako, thank you. Sorry, Renika. She wrote a letter last minute. So you know, it's very difficult when these letters come in the day of the meeting. This is the third time something has happened like this, you know, in preparing for the meeting. And, you know, this is out, you know, this was passed in our last meeting in April. So if they had a problem, they had weeks to address it with us. So, you know, I'm going to vote for this tonight again, and I want the roof to be replaced before, you know, it gets even worse and becomes a bigger project.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Perry?
That's me. Hey. So I just want to say that, you know, again, this is money that has been already approved. We're reprogramming this money. We talk a lot about how we can be efficient in government. And let's be honest, government isn't efficient for the most part. This is something that doesn't need a lot of conversation about. We all agree that there's a leak in the roof. No one's disputing that. And so I will support moving this through because, again, the money's already been approved. There doesn't need to be multiple discussions. I understand the idea that there should be some common courtesy. We've heard a lot in this body about how this other body should be represented here. But for me, this is something that we should just move forward. We've already done great work on the tennis courts, which have benefited our students, our community, and I don't see why we need to continue this discussion. There's other things that I think the school committee can work on to decide how they work as a body, and this is not something we should put back on their plate because it doesn't make sense to me. If someone can explain to me how that works, go ahead, but that's how I feel.
Thank you, Counselor. I see Counselor Nabad and then Counselor, actually,
yeah.
Did you have, okay, so Counselor Nabad, Counselor Davis, because she hasn't spoken, and back to Counselor Robbins.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Stratton, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to echo what Councilor Perry just said, which is that we all agree that there's a leak in the roof. You know, when we went on tours for the schools, we saw that some of the buildings were in difficult shape. And also recently when we went to plant trees at JFK, we saw the beautiful new tennis courts, which is really exciting. I wasn't a part of that, but I certainly felt a sense of pride about that and how our beautiful tennis courts look. And how safe they are, how much safer they are probably than they were before in their beautiful new condition. And so although I do hear that people would like to have more say in terms of, like, you know, all the little details and all of the little moving parts of what goes on in the school system, this piece of it, I think, is a pretty easy thing, which is that there's a leak in the roof and this money is already spent. These projects have already been discussed and brought forth previously in a previous administration out of necessity. And so I will be voting to support this tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Davis.
Okay, I think, did Counselor Stratton have his hand before me? But I'll be happy to go, whichever one you want.
Right, and the other thing I'm trying to do is if someone hasn't spoken yet, I
Okay, I'll be brief because what I had been thinking was mostly been said, because I get the gut feeling about the courtesy piece. I really do, because it seems like it's a school thing, but it's not curriculum, it's not teachers, it's not educational issues. This is the building, and that's a city piece, the way that I understand it. And the one thing that I'm wondering about, which maybe isn't the time for this now, but Counselor Robbins said different opinions about charter authorizations. I'm not even sure what that means, but maybe we need to I need to understand what that means because the charter's charter. But I would definitely be voting for this. We want the kids to be in a building that's functioning and safe.
Okay, thank you. So, right, Councillor, I'm going to let Councillor Stratton go because he hasn't spoken, and then we'll get back to you, Councillor Robbins.
Okay, I'll change the oil in my car.
So I think right from the start, we can dispense with the claim that this is not in the purview of the school committee because, in fact, the state MSBA required a vote of the school committee to even begin the process. It's in the purview of the school committee. It requires the vote of the school committee and the council, this process. Now we're talking about a detail of the process. You know, the school committee started, they said, yes, we are interested in this, but they haven't been kept in the loop. And that's what I'm hearing from some of them. Obviously, people are hearing different things from different members. So no, we shouldn't be having a straw poll of the school committee conducted by city councilors. That's not how government works. The school committee is a public body just like ourselves. They have a process for speaking as a body. It's called having a public meeting, debating, and voting on it. There's a process for that. This, you know, having to make public comments to each other in person or in email, this is fallback when the ordinary process fails. Okay, so why hasn't the process run? Well, as most of us noticed, the school committee was a little busy in recent weeks selecting a new superintendent. So this, you know, they haven't had a chance to put this on their agenda. The calls I'm hearing are for an opportunity specifically to do that. But let's talk about the practical aspect of this. First of all, we're not voting to send someone up on the roof with a bucket of tar and fix a currently active leak. We're talking about $160,000 for design of a solution. This isn't fixing anything. This is designing the ultimate fix. And yes, that's probably a direction we want to go in. But is that the most pressing use of money in the schools this evening? I don't know that. You don't know that. None of us know that. We're the city council. We're not the school committee. So why do we have a school committee? We have a school committee elected to understand the schools, to take time to research these things. You know, we have responsibility for the whole city, but we're not experts in the schools. And yes, funding in the schools has to pass through us, but it also really should be passing through the school committee. But I've also heard my colleagues repeatedly making calls for the school committee to be more efficient and more strategic in how it spends the funding that we grant them. How are they supposed to really strategize for efficiency when we preempt their decisions on a large part of the school spending? I mean, we only allow them to have input over salary related and policy things. I mean, do we have a school committee to weigh the admittedly challenging issues of implementing cell phone ban? I mean, I'm glad that's their responsibility, not ours. But I think we really have a school committee to educate our children. And that includes everything. It includes staffing, it includes policies, and yes, it includes classrooms with roofs that don't have, you know, water dripping out of them. It's a comprehensive problem, and it needs to be, you know, in front of them in all aspects without us just habitually jumping in. And, you know, we get on 51 hours notice, sorry, not this time, but, you know, we get on short notice the update that should have gone to them, and then we just charge ahead and vote without their input. So I'm very concerned about this process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robbins.
Sure. I hear what people are thinking, and I don't, the MSBA approval is something that, as Chris says, is required by the school committee. And that's filling out the formal pieces of paper that say we want to apply for this fund that's going to help underwrite this very expensive undertaking. We never know if we're going to get it or not. We don't know how much it's going to be. It's always iffy. But it's a pretty clear process. And so when you sign on it, it doesn't just disappear. It's the follow-up when it comes through and it's been granted is very exciting, but then you have to think about how you're going to pay for it, and it can't be sort of hit or miss. I don't think anybody's saying that they're against having a hole in the roof fixed. It's really important. I've had children and grandchildren at JFK. I know the condition of the roof has been ongoing for many years. It's not about slowing that process. It's about ensuring that the people who are responsible for it have the time to understand it much better than we understand it. Even in a short look now, I wonder how many of us are familiar with the JFK Energy Management System upgrade. Is that a familiar term to us? Do we know how much money is in the NPS Energy Project Fund that some of this money is taken out of? Those might be very unfamiliar terms to us. I'm hoping that they would be familiar terms to the school committee, and if not, they should be, because those are the general funds that are put together in order to help resource these kinds of projects. And that is being efficient, but it's also being knowledgeable and making decisions that Certainly, they'll probably go ahead and say, yes, this is what we need to do, but they're the ones that need to be deeply involved in understanding the process, the where and the when, and what the outcome is going to look like. And that's what I'm suggesting we offer them. I doubt that it would take much time for them to be able to have that conversation and to send it back with their blessing. That's all I'm asking for.
Thank you, Counselor. I see, okay, and now I'll go to you after the mayor, Counselor Clemmer, and then
First, I think Councilor Robbins might be confusing the two orders that are on the agenda this evening. Yep. So secondly, but to your point, yes, what the school committee needs to authorize for this process is a statement of interest to enter into, but they're not needed for any authorization for spending because that is not under their purview.
And I will respond. I have a similar reaction to the second one, so that's what I was referencing. And yes, you're right.
Okay, you were just talking about the funding for this. That was incorrect.
I did, but I would say the same thing with the LEADS work as well.
Okay. Counselor Clemmer, and then Counselor Loisel.
Yeah, just that the roof is leaking. It has nothing to do with learning. I mean, if the kids get sick, of course, but this isn't their purview. The roof is not the school committee's purview. And yes, it would delay things. And you said they probably will approve this. Suppose they don't, then what? And, we're getting help with the cost of it. Engineers have designed the roof. It's not like a roof in your house. It's why it's so expensive. And, it has to be done. I don't understand why there's been quite a few times this term that we've tried to give money to the schools, and then they're like, no, don't pass it. This is probably at least the third time. We're giving them money. We're giving them the work is going to be done. They will have a new roof, which is badly needed. And I don't
Point of information.
understand what the problem is. Yes.
Could my counselor clarify what she believes this is funding?
The roof.
Okay.
The design.
Wait. Point of order. That's not a point of information. That's a question. Okay, back.
Yeah, the roof, the design and the project, and we're getting money. And, it has to be done. It's not, if the school committee wants to weigh in on things, they can have discussions and change their rules so they can participate. But this is not a school item. It is a city item. The city money that's going to this project. So that's why we're voting on it.
Okay. Counselor Loisel, did you have your hand up? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I had a long conversation with a teacher who worked at JFK for a long time, and she described to me the buckets that were in the hallway, and it just seems like a no-brainer, as to use a term. And it isn't operational money; it's capital money. So until that process gets changed, if it gets changed. Right now, the process is that it's in our lap, and I feel like it's a dereliction of our duty not to do it because we know it needs to be done.
Okay. I'm going to make some comments about the process comments, which is, right now, capital is not ordinary maintenance, and the city owns the school buildings. I think that this is I think this is a valuable conversation to have about whether it should go to school committee. But what my suggestion would be that we would have to make a rule about this or look at this in a organized way. And so I would suggest you talk to the solicitor about the charter, the section in the charter that covers this. And come back with a proposal, a rule change, or something to address that. But for me, switching midstream is not the way to go, because we need to have criteria in which we distribute this money, and this is our charter and these are our rules, and if nothing else, it's also our custom. I think that's fine to look at changing and have those conversations, but I think we need to do it in an organized manner, and that would be my suggestion to those who are interested, to bring something forward, and we can discuss it. Okay, Counselor oh, wait, whoa. Everyone, wow, that was simultaneous. Okay, I'm going to go to Counselor Perry because there's a Zoom, neglect that usually happens. So I'm making up for it. And then I'll go to Counselor Stratton and Nabad. Counselor Perry.
I wouldn't say there's Zoom neglect. Apparently it's looming over you all
That's true.
during these proceedings. I just want to remind us that, again, this is money that has been already allocated. We're reprogramming it. I like how some counselors are hypothetically asking these questions about things and expertise. And I want to remind folks that a lot of our school committee are just recently elected. A lot of our city councils recently are just elected. Expertise isn't a strange thing to throw into the mix. What we're dealing with is the actuals, the actual reality that we had money that is left over that's already been appropriated. We're reprogramming this to design, to look at a design for the roof. I personally believe there are a lot of things that we're going to have on our plates that are going to require a lot of deep diving, understanding. And if we cannot come to the communal understanding that figuring out how to deal with these leaky roofs is just something we should pass, I'm feeling very trepidatious about how we move forward as we go towards the budget and things like that. So again, I just want to ground and center everyone in the fact that we're trying to give to the schools, to provide resources, to take what was already a good idea, which was to redo our tennis courts, our basketball courts, to provide students who maybe outside of the classrooms need sports and other avenues for them to thrive. We're just taking these resources and putting it back into the schools. So let's just remember that as we discuss this. Again, I will support this, and I hope that other folks will. And if someone else has a reasonable reason why I shouldn't, please present it.
Thank you, Counselor. So I'm going to go to Counselor Stratton and Counselor Nabad, and then I would like to see if we can wrap this up and move on. Okay, Counselor Stratton.
Yes, I move that we postpone 26.057 to our next regular meeting to give the school committee time to discuss it.
Is there a second? Okay. Counselor, Counselor Perry, did you?
Then I will move that we approve this.
Right. Okay.
I'll second.
Second.
So do I have a motion on the floor, 26.057, to reprogram JF roof design? Motion made by Counselor Perry, seconded by this whole section. Counselor Davis was our second on that. So that's on the floor. I do want to go to Counselor Nabad because she had her hand up, and then hopefully we can take a vote. Counselor Nabad.
Sure. So I guess what I was thinking is, as I, in my life, have worked through lots of changes that I'd like to see, for example, in public housing, or changes that I'd like to see in terms of food security, or different things like this. Things that I would like to see change in the city. I have found that sometimes there are regulations that are set forth by the state, and it takes time to make changes in the system in order to maybe it might even involve some sort of statewide change, as we are doing with the rodenticide bill right now, to really change things within our city. And so I encourage the school committee to explore this if they feel inspired to do that. However, this is a capital project. It's not operational. And so I just wanted to mention that sometimes, you can run into things that it might not just involve our charter, that it could involve more than the charter. It might involve like getting involved and having to go work with the state on changing regulations. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, are we ready to vote? Roll call on approval of 26.057. Thank you, Laura.
Counselor Dobbs.
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Nabad.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Counselor Robbins.
No.
Counselor Stratton.
No.
And Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Okay. So that passes even with the financial order. Yes, 6. Okay. Did you vote? Yeah. Yeah. Just softly. Okay. So now we're moving on to financial orders in first reading. Financial orders will be introduced and discussed at full city council meetings and referred to either the consent agenda of a future meeting or the finance committee for more input. So we have 26.062 in order to transfer money from personnel reserve for FY26 negotiated and COLA increases. And yeah, so we can discuss.
Could I just?
Yeah.
Director Nardi, question?
Sure.
Or Mayor, is this something that's time sensitive that would need to be transferred sooner rather than later?
No, you can follow your normal process, but thank you for asking.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any comments on this? Councilor Stratton.
Yeah, I just had an information question. I was looking earlier and I wasn't finding it. When did we last set elected official salaries? And is there a percentage COLA increase in that? Or
Yes.
it actually looked like maybe the order was missing from the roll call record or something, so I wasn't finding it.
So it's actually set by ordinance by the city
Yeah,
council.
I understand. And there's a time frame when you can and can't vote that, and it takes place after the
Oh,
takes
that
effect after
that
the
is
next
in
election.
the charter. That is every 10 years.
Well, I was just wondering, what is the current ordinance that sets those? Just so I can look at this for next time.
Sure. So look under the code on. I can find it for you for, but it's
so it would
under
be-
compensation for elected officials or something like that.
So it would be an E code. It's not. I don't actually need to find the order itself.
No, you can find it in the city
Oh,
code.
okay. All right. Never mind. Thank you.
But there's a 2%. The council voted a 2% COLA for elected officials.
We did. Director Nardi. Did you have your?
Yes, if I can just speak to the order. So this includes elected officials, but it also includes the all city employees. When we set the budget for prior to negotiations, we set aside a specific amount of money in personnel because we don't know how those negotiations will end. And this is money in the budget. We are not adding to our budget. We are just moving money into the departments to cover the negotiations that were completed this past year, that start in FY26 and go through FY28. So this covers the money that we will need to finish out the year for personnel services for FY26.
Can I just do a quick? So 5-5, compensation of elected officials.
Councilor Loisel.
We're just going to talk about each one, right?
Yeah, sometimes we could move them as a group, but I thought they were so different, so I thought I didn't read them all out.
So just to clarify, this COLA increase is for this current year?
Correct. This covers the COLA increases for all personnel in each of these departments for FY26.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I'd like to make a motion that we pass this.
Okay.
Approve this.
Okay, so there's a motion.
Suspend the rules?
I mean, we have to suspend the rules
Well,
to do that?
yes. Are you making a motion to refer or no, approve? Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess we could refer it if you think it should go to finance, but.
Or you can refer to the consent agenda.
That's what I'm.
No, I get it.
Sorry, that's what I'm trying to do.
That's fine.
Apologies.
So, motion to refer 26.062 to the consent agenda of our next meeting, May 20.
Second it.
Second. So motion made by Councilor Loisel and seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Any other discussion before we vote on a referral?
Just a realization as I'm looking at this more, the first 3 or 4 lines of this are listed as office holders like mayor or assessor or collector. I'm now realizing that those are really departments with staff. It's not just one person.
Yes, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear in the order. That's a good question. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Not the individuals,
Yeah.
whole departments.
Okay. Okay, I think we are ready for a roll call on referral to 26.062 to the consent agenda of our next meeting.
Councilor Clemmer,
Yes.
Councilor Loisel,
Yes.
Councilor Maori,
Yes.
Councilor Nabad,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Robbins,
Yes.
Councilor Stratton,
Yes.
Councilor Davis,
Yes.
and Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Okay. So that will be our, excuse me, on our next agenda. Moving on to 26.063, in order to reprogram $313,489 to NPS Energy account for 2 school energy projects. This is on first reading, and so we were looking to either refer to consent agenda or finance. Okay, Councilor Robbins and Councilor Clemmer.
So can we talk about it and before it's referred?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Director Wiles on, and he has a presentation about it.
Oh,
I don't know
okay,
if that would be
great.
helpful before you talk.
That was what I was going to ask for.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's great.
Yeah, there's not a motion on the floor, but yes, let's get, there he is. Oh, there. Okay. I think he's a co-host. Good evening, Director Weil.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm going to try and share.
Here, let me try.
I just want to.
Ben, do you want me to do it for you? I wasn't planning to do it, share it for you.
Oh,
Arlene.
well, that's even better. Yes, if you'll do that,
Yeah.
that's great.
Laura,
Thank
may
you.
I have sharing ability, please?
You're a co-host, so you should be able to.
Yeah. I will note that, and the mayor pointed this out, and with this new Zoom update, I have found that if your screen is at all not at full, you can't see the button to share. Just so, point of information.
Okay, so yeah, again, I'll try to go quickly, but I enjoy putting pictures of some of the very, very large and ancient equipment that is powering our schools right now. This is in Jackson Street. Next slide. So the first project is one that came to us essentially as an emergency. So you approved in the capital budget $12,000 to rebuild the compressor, which at the time is what Tony believed would be sufficient to allow rooftop unit number 2 to provide cooling to the library at JFK. He then went up there with the contractor to kind of plan it out, and the contractor took a deeper look and said, this is not fixable. It uses a refrigerant R22, which has been illegal for about 10 years and is extraordinarily expensive to get. So even if it were fixable, it would be really challenging. And so then we had this kind of emergency situation, which is we need cooling really quite soon. I mean, we had that recent kind of unseasonable heat wave, and we kind of learned a bunch of lessons really quickly about where we really need cooling, and this was one of them. Obviously, when you're going to occupy space, you need proper ventilation. And the rooftop unit, because of the interaction of the systems, also wouldn't be able to do the heating that's required. So we tried to quickly come up with a different plan that would provide the functions that we needed. So we are working with the city's HVAC technician and the city's electrician to install cooling, which will also happen to provide heating using air source heat pumps. And so I was able to size that and engineer that. And so that's the first part of it. The second part of it, though, is to replace the rooftop unit, which provides ventilation. It originally is providing all of the functions, and now it will only be required to provide ventilation. So we remove that large and ancient rooftop unit and replace it with a new energy recovery ventilator. And that so that's the first project is kind of those two things coming together, with the first one just getting cooling into the space, hopefully before we actually start to really need it. So that's the first one. Next slide. So the next part is less a matter of urgency than opportunity. So we have this plan for Jackson Street School. The general basis is, can we eliminate the need for steam before we have problems with the steam system, and thereby avoid investing in a system that is not really what we want going forward, because we want to electrify heating and we want to provide cooling. Next slide. So this shows you kind of the layout of the plan, and you have already approved, and we already have a contract, and we're getting ready to start on the variable refrigerant flow cooling and heating system for the 1970s section of the building in orange. So that's already happening. With a few additional tweaks that you also enabled, we can enable the existing air source heat pumps in the library, the section in green, to actually provide a good chunk of the heating, as well as continue to provide cooling better. But here's where we have some other opportunities that that switch the order in which we're doing things based on the size of the contract, or the size of the cost. So converting the administration section, which has a steam coil that preheats their air, if we can take care of that this summer, then we get ourselves farther ahead. And again, we're racing against this steam coil thing. And then finally, we would be able to provide a ventilation system that is a better version than what we were originally planning, based on cost. Next slide. Sorry, I hit a bunch of times because I animated this until it changes to the next thing. Sorry, just keep hitting it. There we go. For some reason it went backwards. Anyway, so this is just our current system serving the 1970s wing. Some of you have seen this already. We've got depressurization. We're using steam to preheat, and we've got these very, very large pieces of equipment moving a whole lot of air over coils that are satisfied with hot water. Next slide. So what we're already planning, what we had been planning, was install the heat pumps, the variable refrigerant flow system. Now we'll have cooling and we'll do heating, and we'll do less with the existing air handler by changing its settings so that it just does the ventilation delivery, but it still has to move a whole lot of air to do that, and it has to use the steam coil to preheat that air. Next slide. Instead, for actually pretty decent reduced cost compared to what we initially assumed we'd have to do, we can actually replace that unit with an energy recovery ventilator that will just do ventilation, and it basically replaces the need for steam. And now we have a reheat coil. Next slide. So that in the future, once we're no longer producing steam and using that to make hot water, we'll have a much smaller air-to-water heat pump. So that's the overall plan. Next slide shows you the projects we're planning to do. So the JFK Library, ERV. The reason I'm not sharing an avoided alternative or annual savings is because this is a necessary thing. I can't really compare it to something because we don't have an option to continue using the existing equipment. Same with the air source heat pumps. And these are good estimates, but they are not the final estimates. So they're rough, and that goes for the incentives as well. At Jackson Street, we can basically do the admin section and get an incentive, and I actually can calculate savings of about $4,500 per year. And then by doing the ERV instead of the plan that we were going to do, which would have cost us the $27,000, we're taking this other approach, we end up with an annual savings of 10,000 and change. So that gives us a simple payback of a little bit under 10 years, which is pretty good for a project that is also providing better conditioning of fresh air to go with our heat pump system in the 1970s wing. So that's the basic background, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Okay, I see Councilor Loisel.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. I just wanted to ask you if the JFK, cooling project is meant for this year.
It's meant for the next few weeks.
Okay, so
like, it's an emergency.
Yeah, that's okay, because we have been hearing about how hot it is there, and so that's what I wanted to know, if that's meant to happen now. That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will order the equipment and install it, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Right. And just a point of clarification of information, I believe that you also are providing portable air conditioners if needed before the project is.
Unrelated. We are doing both, or it's
Okay.
related that it's cooling. So you all heard the same reports, and trust me, I heard lots of reports about how bad the top floor of JFK is. It was really bad. So we are doing so we didn't have like electrical outlets and so forth. So we're doing a lot of stuff. All of that we're doing in-house, using city central services personnel and my help and just kind of all of us just moving to get cooling up into those spaces. It's not going to be perfect.
Right.
But, yeah.
Thank you. I believe Councilor Stratton, did you have your hand up?
Yes, so looking at this slide that was up a minute ago, it looks like the JFK project that has a bit of urgency to it, that's on the order of 85,000, and then Jackson Street's the remainder, about 206,000, give or take.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Councilor Clemmer.
Thanks for the presentation, Dr. Wall. So you said there was $12,000 that you were going to use to replace the rooftop thing. Was that money spent, or is it just back in the pool?
No, it's part of the order, the reprogramming order. It's basically, okay, we couldn't spend it on the original plan was rebuild the compressor. The contractor gets there, he says, I can't do this. So instead of spending the money on that, which made no sense, we're requesting as part of other monies that we found to reprogram it into this
So it's
fund.
just back in the pot again?
Precisely, yeah.
Okay, and then this sounds kind of time sensitive too, to get it going?
It's certainly the JFK portion is very time sensitive. Summer school is going to be at JFK this summer. They depend on the library as one of the cooled spots.
Okay, thank you.
I see Director Nardi, but Councilor Robbins, Councilor Robbins, why don't you go first, and then we can do, because you might have maybe.
Thank you for this, and I really appreciate when you do your slideshows and overviews. And I may sound like I'm beating an old drum, but have you presented this to the school committee? I know you presented other projects before, which were really helpful.
So I am on their agenda for May 11th, and they may not be expecting this because, again, this is all new. Remember, we're not expecting to do the JFK projects because it's not really how we'd love to do it. It's just that this is an emergency. And we weren't expecting to find the resources to be able to accelerate the Jackson Street projects.
So I just want to make a couple of comments that would help, I think, in understanding and possibly would help when you present it with them as well, because your slideshows are always incredibly interesting, engaging, and very easy to access. Not all of them, but most of them. Some of them are are a lot. But it would be super helpful, and I know it's not required for an order to put in to ask for money from us, but if you could include a data sheet that has that information in it. I know you've put in the specific where the money would come from and where they is, but the understanding of the including the funds, where they specifically would come from, you know, and you've been explanatory about what you need. It would also be helpful to have some of the nomenclature help. So as I referenced earlier, the NPS Energy Project, which is one of the funding sources that you've talked about, and also saw earlier the JFK Energy Management System Projects account. I know that Director Nardi probably knows about those and where they come from, but I really appreciate being as deeply informed as I can about what the funding is, where it came from, and I don't know how much is in these funds or what they're expected to fund in the future. So giving us a little bit more detailed background would be incredibly helpful. And just coming when we get the order, having that as an attachment or a data sheet.
I would say I would defer to Director Nardi on kind of how to do that, just because that's really in her bailiwick. I can certainly try and give a narrative of kind of where the funds came from. This is a combination of kind of looking under the couch cushions and finding savings through contracting efficiency, grants that we got that we didn't expect to get that offset things, and then projects had some funds. Projects that were funded long before I ever worked with the city that had been just sitting on the books and nobody had done them, and now they're not relevant. So
it would be great just to list those. So where did we get the money from? And, you know, if we found it under the cushion.
I'd like to call a point of order, please. It's really not the role of city councilors to tell department heads how to do their job. And I think it's fair enough to ask questions.
Oh, okay. You have to call order to her first before she gives permission to you to talk.
No, it's an interruptible order. She can interrupt to say point of order.
Then you have to say it's okay.
No, I don't say that's okay. I listen to what her point of order is, and then I rule.
Sorry, what's not okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what was I doing that was not okay?
Well, Councilor Nabad.
Because I was in the middle of a conversation with Ben.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to say. I think that the back and forth should end. I think that the conversation, what Councilor Robbins is bringing up, is relevant, but I do want to kind of tighten this conversation. So, did you have any more questions?
No.
Because I'd like to go to Director Nardi.
I see that. I was just, we have a presentation that I'm just saying it would have been great to have that information included in the order so that we would have understood more about it before we came to have a discussion here, which
But
is
it
actually
is
a pretty
in the
efficient
order.
thing to do.
Okay, wait. Let's go to Director Nardi because I think she.
Yeah, so
to
I think
that
those are great
question.
questions, and that's what I expect when we come forward. But all the information you're looking for is in this order. If you read the whereases, so the bottom, if you look at the order, and maybe this is the confusing part, and I apologize for the new counselors. So our process is when we have capital projects and they are completed and there is extra money, I ask all the departments every year to look at all their projects, what their status is, where are we, what are your plans to do with this money, and then departments look at their projects and then they figure, oh, I have a project, such as the one, if you look at the back and you look at the little box, it says NPS Leads Cafe ERV. That was a project that went through the SIP. It was funded through the council, and now there is $145,000, $215. Why can't I speak? Words are hard. I'm sorry. So there's that money in there, and we said these projects are completed, so they are the rest of those funds because we want to empty them. We don't want money sitting in accounts. So that's what we tried to describe, and we talked about the projects and how they are done. And then these are the final amounts, and we're asking them to go forward. And I think it's a good question. If you haven't been on the council created a Northampton Public Schools energy account so that when they coordinate and work with Dr. Weil to do these projects, we're putting it in an account so if JFK costs a little more, there's money in there that we can use. So we don't have to come back to you and say, oh, it was $5,000 more. And then we could, or it was less, and we can use it for the other order that we're talking about, which is continuing the phases at Jackson Street School. So I hope that helps you. We are providing you that information, just maybe not in a format that you're familiar with, but this is how we do it with the order, and then I list them at the bottom. But I'm happy to take questions anytime you have them. And the narratives are in the whereas statement. If you read the whereas, it talks about each of those projects.
Perry's camera.
Yep.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Why is it saying? Okay. Okay, Counselor Clemmer.
Yeah, I move to suspend the rules. This seems like something that needs to be started as soon as possible. And being in New England, it could be 90 degrees on Monday. So, and especially in light of the fact that they're using Jackson Street for JFK for the summer school.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion made to suspend the rules so that we would vote tonight. Is that correct, Counselor Clemmer? Is that what you're? Yes. Okay, motion. Do we have a second?
I did second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So motion made by Counselor Clemmer, seconded by Counselor Loisel. All right, we can still have discussion since that's been seconded. The motion's on the floor. Counselor Stratton.
Yes, I had a question for Dr. Weil. Hypothetically, if we were to take this and we were to split it and we were to reprogram, let's put some buffer in there, $100,000 from the Leeds Cafe ERV, since that project is now, unneeded, to the school energy account, would that let you get started on the JFK thing? And then we'd have time to talk more about JSS with the school committee.
So yes, theoretically. So theoretically, yes, that would enable, as long as we had the money we needed for JFK, we could then start to contract for or order equipment, depending on the part of the project, for JFK. What I will say about timing is this. With schools, we have a tiny little summer window to do any projects. And if we don't meet that window, then we have to put it off. So in this case, for example, if we... someone died from that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I got it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't tell if that was something. Sorry.
Yeah,
so
that's okay.
From a timing point of view, if so the ERV, for example, at Jackson Street that we'd like to order, or that particular piece of equipment, has about an 8-week lead time from the manufacturer. So we have to order it pretty early, and we have to be 100% certain that it's actually arriving, like it's gonna be at the school ready for us to install before we start demolishing air handler 1 that serves that area, because we don't want school to start and have no air handler to provide fresh air. So to some degree, we need to have some level of certainty that we can have a contract to do something so that we can place an order, so that we can deal with the manufacturer lead time and still have time to install equipment before the very short summer ends and we're back at school.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Counselor Loisel.
Yeah, so we're commenting now. Because
Yes, there is a motion on the floor, and we could vote whenever we're done.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say, I first of all, I think that this financial order was incredibly detailed. I must say, whereas has always tripped me up, and I have to read it like 5 times, but I felt like I totally understood where the money's coming from, and I understood why it's left over. It wasn't like overestimating. It was various things that happened. It was grants that came forward to pay for things. So there was a whole list of where the money came from. So thank you for that. This money is never going to go to the operational school budget. It is capital money that's being reprogrammed. It's totally up to us to take care of this. It's, to me,
Point
again,
of information.
I'm talking.
That's an interruptible.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Could my colleague explain a legal difference between capital?
No, that's not a point of information. That's a question for a fellow counselor, which you can ask during your turn. Okay, Counselor
This feels a little like micromanaging. We have several times during the presentation, they talked about central services coming in. Sometimes central services did the work. This is something where central services is deeply involved in making sure the school buildings are up to par. And so it is not something that has gone to the school committee. Now, that could change, but the process that we use now is for us to make the decision of when the money is spent to fix these building problems. I think if the school committee wants that to change, they need to get their act together and talk about how to do it. But for now, this is our process. And I am not going to vote against giving air conditioning to JFK. And I don't really see why you would, Councilor Robbins. You mentioned this 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago at a meeting when we were talking about other money being spent. You mentioned that JFK needs air conditioning. So it just sort of feels a little bit confounding to me, I guess, to think that we wouldn't do these very important things.
I'm just going to respond, Lori, to say I think you're being really presumptive. I don't believe that I mentioned at all that I wasn't in favor of this or I thought it was a bad idea. I am very, very concerned about what our role is in oversight, and I want to make sure that when we make a decision, I really understand it and I have the background for it, because I feel like that's the legislative job, and that's what I'm asking. So I'm going to push back and say I absolutely appreciate what Ben is doing. I think it's terrific. It's great that he's found the money there. I think our process could be clearer and better, and I think it's my right to actually ask that question and to say, for me, it would be helpful if I had. And to ask also if the school committee had seen it, because I have been on the school committee. He has presented to us before he's done a project, and it's been really helpful as a school committee member to understand what it is that the city council is voting on. Because if you're out of the loop and you don't know what it is, you're sitting there thinking, what are these guys doing? So it's a wonderful way to be able to be part of a circle, and it is a great process. So thank you for reconsidering that assumption.
Wait, can I just respond to that? Because I think there was a miscommunication.
Okay, you're clarifying?
Yeah,
Okay.
clarifying something. I wasn't...
And then we do have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about the questions you asked. I was talking about the fact that at a meeting a while back, which I can't remember what we were voting on, but it was a school thing, and you said maybe this money should be used for air conditioning at JFK. So you mentioned that, and that's how it came on my radar, that JFK needed the air conditioning. That's
great, but I just explained that.
Okay, we're done here. Yes, Mayor.
I just want to say that my office actually requested that this order be sent to the school committee. As a member of the school committee, it's not something that I can do, but I'm not sure that happened. But we did request that. Okay.
I will just say that JFK is in Ward 7, and the school committee member Reese and I both spent a lot of time looking at the situation, I talked with the principal, I talked to others in the JFK community, and it was 90. They were actually taking the temperature when I was there, and it was 90 degrees on the second floor. And we did have a student who went home with heat stroke.
So sorry, I just want to clarify what I said. I requested it be sent to them for their information, not for them to vote on it, as it's not under their purview. But just as the courtesy that you all asked for, I asked that they be informed of it.
Right. In my opinion, it's very good news, and I like to share good news anyway. But okay, so we do have a motion on the floor this is just the motion is just to suspend the rule. So what we would have to do is vote on that motion, and then we would have to vote on the item if we wanted to do that. Councillor Stratton.
I mean, I think some of my discomfort here is that this wasn't on the original agenda last week. This appeared, I believe, Tuesday around lunchtime. Dr. Weil was talking about things including this to Budget and Property in the school committee on Monday. But now here on Thursday, we're going to vote on this and preempt them.
Point of information.
Yes.
Isn't it standard that the city council agenda gets finalized on Tuesday?
Tuesday, we asked for folks to hand in items by noon, but it's not really due until, let's say, like 5
So
o'clock.
the original agenda is often not the complete agenda.
Correct.
Right. So that's typical.
Okay.
It's become disturbingly common.
Okay.
I think that the law is that the agenda has to be posted 48 hours before the meeting, and that is what we do.
Okay.
Business comes up at the last minute. There's nothing untoward about that.
I'm not sure who even has
Okay.
the floor at the moment, because you had a point of information that interrupted me. But
I'm going back to you, but point of informations are interruptible. And I agreed that was.
was that a point of information?
It was. It was a point of clarification or information, yes.
I believe that a point of information is to request clarification, not to give one's own view of the facts.
What I heard was a question that I corroborated. But you can go back. You have the floor, Councilor Stratton.
Here we go again.
Okay. Councilor Perry.
Stubbornly raising my hand.
That's okay.
I have a couple things. One is that I actually have a child at JFK who tells me about how hot it is there. In this meeting, again, I've watched some folks vote against moving towards fixing roofs. I understand the ideas that we want to include the school committee. This, as I understand it, is reprogramming funding that we've already approved. And through the presentation that Director Weil gave, there's no option for what we do to move forward. Unless a school committee member is like MacGyver or something, and they can figure out how to build something with rubber bands and hope. But this is a time-sensitive thing. I know that maybe a couple days feels like it's not a lot to some of us, but for kids who are in these school buildings, every day is important. So for me, that is why I'm going to approve suspending the rules and approve this. And also to some of the comments that were happening before about asking for information. It's great to ask for more information. Through looking at the whereases, I thought I had enough information. It's not required. Northampton does go above and beyond often with adding extra information to our agendas. There was a question about whether or not the original posted agenda matched what we were talking about today. That's the minutia. What I want to really focus us again upon is making sure that we do what we can to help our schools, our students, our staff, and our constituents. And these conversations that we've been having right now don't feel like it's moving any of that forward. It feels like we're getting back and forth, tit for tat, about little things. And so I just want us to remember why we are here, why we were elected. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, Mayor.
This is the last thing for me. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank Director Weil. You know, one of the frustrations that people often have with government is that it can't be nimble and it can't be creative and it can't kind of do things quickly or flexibly. And he is an exception, you know, and there are certain times that we absolutely can't, but he has a remarkable ability to find ways to make things happen, and this is a really great example of that. So I just wanted to recognize that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, Director Weil. Okay, guys, motion on the floor to suspend the rules. I would like to get to a roll call.
Did it get
Robbins?
seconded?
It did.
Okay.
Seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Okay, Laura, let's do a roll call on suspending the rules to vote tonight on an order 26.063 in order to reprogram money to the MPS energy account.
Okay. Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Nabad.
Yes.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
No.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
and Counselor Clemmer.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So that passes for suspension, correct? That was 6. Yeah. Okay. So now, yes. So now we would.
Second.
Did someone?
That was me.
Oh, hey, yeah. Okay.
And second.
Okay. Motion made by Counselor Perry on approval. Yeah. And seconded by Counselor Clemmer. Okay. Any more discussion before we vote on that? Okay. A roll call on approval. Laura?
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
and Counselor Loisel.
Yes.
Okay. So that passes. I hope that you'll feel cooler at JFK soon. Now we're moving on to orders. And let me know if anyone needs a break, but I'm going to keep going. Okay. So 26.050, an order referring 28-17 to transportation and parking. This is on second reading. Let's see, introduced and discussed April 16th, approved in first reading April 16th. So that's okay, that's second reading. Let me just see. I'm just going to read the other one in case anyone wants to move things as a group. 26.059, an order amending Order 25.299 to allow acquisition by eminent domain. This is also in second reading. History introduced and discussed April 16th. So we've seen these both before. Yeah. Any?
I'll move to.
Approve it as a group.
Okay. That's cute.
I'll second it.
I seconded, but.
Wait. Okay. All right. So. No, okay. So Counselor Loisel. No, who made the motion? Okay, Counselor Clemmer made a motion to move as a group for approval. And Counselor Loisel seconded. So now we can vote the motion is to vote to approve. We don't have to vote to make them, to group them. Correct, Laura? Yeah, okay. So now the motion to approve both those orders is on the floor. Discussion. Counselor Stratton?
Yes, I'm really excited about the Mineral Hills acquisition. I have maybe a tinge of regret that it doesn't get its own vote, but no, I understand that. I'm really looking forward to, how should we say, being able to go there officially.
Yeah.
And, I know we're referring just the snow ordinance to transportation and parking, and I hope that some real progress on that can finally be made there. At some point, I would like to see us, in some form, look at the vegetation both in the sidewalk obstruction case and also the sightline obstruction case. I was coming down Clement Street the other day, and where you sort of wait at the top of the hill for the one-way bridge, I was noticing that things were starting to grow up, so they almost block your view of cars coming up the hill. There's the spot in Florence Center. I'm going to get the road names wrong, but if you're kind of heading west and you're looking sort of past the Sojourner Truth Park, the things that there are growing, so you can't really see traffic on the the area that has the perspective. Obviously, that's not before us tonight, but it's something I hope we'll work on at some point, getting some clarity whose responsibility that is. But yeah, really excited about the Mineral Hills and looking forward to signing that document after we adjourn.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Excellent. Any other comments before we vote to approve both items in orders? Okay, roll call on approval.
Counselor Nabad,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Stratton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Dobbs,
Yes.
Counselor Clemmer,
Yes.
Counselor Loisel,
Yes.
and Counselor Maori.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. That passes. Both items pass. So now we're moving on to ordinances that have not yet been referred, so we need to refer them. No ordinance shall be voted on by the City Council until it has been considered by the Committee on Legislative Matters. So we have 3 items, 26.051, an ordinance rescinding 24-4 obscene or profane language in street prohibited on first reading. And we have 26.052, an ordinance rescinding 312-87, thumbing.
Point of order, these are not on the public agenda.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh, sorry. Apologies. I'm trying to make this meeting longer because I really like spending time with you guys. It must have blended into, I thought we had done that, but I'm like, maybe we did refer it back to the consent. Thank you for that. So, correction. Now we are on to, right, thank you so much. Oh, I'm so happy we don't have to do that again.
I actually do think we haven't finished with those, but I don't see them on the agenda.
Right, they're going to legislative matters, but I was like, did we have to refer? I just couldn't remember if we sent them back. For some reason, that's on my agenda. Okay, so ordinance not yet. Okay, so zoning. So now we are on to resolutions. Correct? Yes, making sure now. Excellent. Okay. So we're on to a second reading of 26.055, a resolution relative to community safety and immigration enforcement activities. Yes, we already introduced and discussed April 16th. We amended, you can see we both amended that night and then we updated it with some amendments for tonight. Okay, counselors, Counselor Stratton.
So I would really like to thank my colleagues who drafted this, and I would especially like to thank you for taking into account, the community input that we got last time. Listening to speakers tonight, I think maybe we could have gone a little bit further, but I appreciate that modifications were made, and maybe we can do more in the future. So I would like to move to approve this.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion made by Counselor Stratton, second by Counselor Dubs to approve the resolution. So the motion's on the floor. Sponsors, would you like, I have other things, but I defer to my other co-sponsors if you want to say anything. Counselor Loisel, thank you for your work, particularly on adding those additions. Yeah.
I did want to say a couple things.
Go for it.
I am aware that people feel like it doesn't have teeth, and that is the nature of a resolution. I'm sorry to say. Resolutions don't have teeth, but to me that does not mean they're not powerful and effective in changing culture. So that's just the reality. And I feel like none of us wanted to make promises that we can't keep. So that was really important to me and other people. But mostly I feel like this resolution is the start. It's not even the start, because it's building on what past councils have done and what the mayor has done, and it's going to continue. And I feel like this problem with ICE is something that the community needs to grapple with, and that I kind of feel like there's this wish that we could fix it, but we can't. But I'm going to be out there protesting if there's ICE hauling someone away. I am committed to what I do here on the council is not the only thing I do to address this very disturbing issue, problem that's happening in our country. And so I just want to note that this is a community issue, and we're doing one thing here, but we have to be on the streets.
Yeah. Thank you. I would like, is that all right? Okay. I was just going to say, I really appreciated all the input we got. I mean, just that tells me something about our community. People are concerned, and they're concerned about their neighbors, and they're concerned about what's right. And they're willing to work with us on this. with resolutions, there's always a little bit of a struggle. When I discussed this resolution with groups much earlier, like last fall, there was a concern about it being too performative, and that, particularly on this issue, as Councillor Loisel said, this is something that is going to have to involve the entire community. This isn't something that we can legislate, and control on any level except, the federal level, except maybe with our vote. But so this is going to involve the entire community, and so giving some false sense of what we can, what we don't have control over, I didn't think would be helpful. But I do hear that. I do hear the feedback that we need to be clear about what we can do and push for that. The mayor's office, the executive branch has a history of issuing statements and supporting sanctuary city type legislation. I feel like they've had their process, and this was going to be our council process. I have discussed with former councillor Alex Jarrett. We have met with the mayor's office and with the police chief to begin the discussions around minimizing traffic stops in general. But in this issue, it would be helpful because it is a touch point for these kinds of abuses. So I hear that, and it's a process that's out there, and even if it's not in this resolution. I really loved Councillor Clemmer's idea of, when we're done here tonight, hopefully we can pick this up in another council, hopefully we keep putting everything in community resources. Where's Councilor Perry? But I would love to have a subcommittee that had kind of an informational forum where we could discuss how everyone in our community can be informed and be helpful on this issue, councilors and everyone else. So I think that's a great action item, and that really can spring out of this resolution. So I don't feel compelled to change the resolution around that. I think, I think ICE needs to be abolished. I think there are a racist gang of bullies who are harming people in our community who are just here to be part of to be our neighbors and to do work and to study, and it's a shame, and we do all need to stand up now. There's no other time. This is it. This is when we have to do it. So, Would any other of the sponsors, Councillor Nabad and then Councillor Clemmer, did you want to speak to the?
Sure. I just want to thank my colleagues for coming together on this order, and I'm honored to have been able to work on it. I don't think that I feel like this is enough. I'm really grateful to live in a community that supports this resolution. I'm really grateful to live in a community that we're not experiencing outrage because we worked on this resolution, and there are certainly plenty of them in small Massachusetts. I think for me personally, the idea of borders is a really odd thing. I think it's just a weird idea, and the borders themselves feel pretty foreign to me. So I just want people to know that's how I feel about that. It's just an odd thing, but here we are, and we're creating this resolution, and I would look forward to trying to work more within our city and working as a community to protect people in our community. I do want to share that I do, we live in a small community, but I will share with everyone that, that there are stories similar to what people shared tonight from the public. In addition to, how parents feel about letting their kids go to school, how, people who are brown are afraid to let go and just be free and do things. And I never want to take my freedom for granted, my feeling of freedom for granted. And with that, I want to thank everyone for working on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank my fellow sponsors for this, and Councilor Loisel for helping us put this all together with your editing skills. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really proud of our community, and that people do come together when there's a marginalized group, and surround them and protect them and try to make them feel safe. And it was different back when I was coming out, but the first thing I was told was like, nobody needs to know because I could hide. A lot of these people can't hide because they're Black and brown people. It's a lousy feeling to have to hide who you are, but the reality it is I could stay safe that way. And like Councilor Loisel said, I'm going to do what I can. I'm an activist. I did organize rallies, and I want to keep participating in it. And if somebody is getting harassed downtown or ICE comes in, I'm going to be there to protect them and do what I can. So it's unfortunate we have to even think about this stuff these days, but here we are.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks.
And Council Perry.
Oh, then Council Perry. Okay. I just wanted to thank my fellow councilors for bringing this resolution to us. I'm really grateful and really proud of you for putting this forward and for having leadership on this issue. On a personal, individual level, I've just been really horrified by seeing what's been happening to our country, and especially what ICE has been doing throughout the country, and it's just been really scary, I think, for everybody. And, to be honest, when I was running for my second term as counselor, the one thing that made me wonder if I should continue being a public person is, what's going to happen when ICE comes to Northampton? Will I have the courage to speak up for my community? And so you guys are really helping to make us all feel less alone on this issue. So, we have each other's backs, and I really appreciate that. So thank you. I mean, we're doing the best we can do, and thank you. Okay. I support this 100%.
Thank you. Councilor Perry.
Yes, thank you. Again, I extend thanks to everyone who wrote this resolution. But first, I just want to say, as a Black person who has been elected to serve on our city council, that I always try and center that in all the things I do. And I will remind folks, I don't speak for every person of color here, but I just want to talk about some of the work that I've done and have been doing for the last few terms. And one of them is working with our police department and other departments to deal with issues like this. I was elected right after George Floyd was murdered. And figuring out how to deal with policing was high on things that I ran for and I wanted to execute. And so for the last few terms, I have been there at the seat as, our police department has hired new recruits, as they have promoted folks. And I will not speak for the police department, but I will speak as to my observations. And I will say that these issues that are being talked about in this resolution are things that our chief and our police department really takes to heart. They understand how unique and special this community is. We are a place that is prone to protests. We are prone to expression. We have a very different population that some of even our neighboring communities have. And so I just want our bigger community, people who are watching this, to know that this has been centered at our police department as well. This resolution does not dictate how they operate, because they've already been doing this, making sure that they protect us. They very much consider us, at the forefront. And so I'm thankful again for our fellow counselors for putting forward this resolution. But I want to assure folks that if I myself, as a person of color, feel that we are being threatened, I will take every means necessary to speak up and be a part of that, much like Councilor Dubs and other people have talked about, like, what do we do when it really comes here? But these conversations are not new to this city. And so I'm thankful to be a part of a city that is really trying to focus on the actual human beings here. So.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay. Oh, what, do you need a mic? You don't. Did you want to? We'll just keep going. Oh, okay. Counselor Robbins.
I also want to say thank you very much for the work that you've put in on this, and I think the community is very grateful for it as well. When we work on ordinances and work on suggestions, because of open meeting law, we really can't have that larger discussion about input and, you know, sort of language and all that. And I am happy to vote for this tonight, but I would like to keep the window open to have the opportunity to revisit it and think about that piece of putting more teeth in it. And we did hear from so many constituents that they felt there were some areas they would have liked to see on there. A large piece was really about knowing, as Garrick was saying, what is the policy and how do we act? What will our police be doing should something happen in our community? I know we all got the letter from our community member about her friend who was taken by ICE in the entryway of our city courthouse, very quietly. We would never have known about it if somebody else who didn't have evidence to be able to support what happened, who wasn't able to follow up with Luce, who wasn't able to track him down, who wasn't able to get him a pro bono attorney, all of that, he probably would have disappeared. And that's the kind of information I was hoping we could make available to the public about what happens if you witness a kidnapping. But I think the other piece is what we're really directing our state officials to do and what we hope to be able to blend in with them on a local level. So I'm hoping that, you know, approving this means that we continue to think about this, we continue to learn from other communities, and that we're open to revisiting it and perhaps amending it in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And of course, we can amend any kind of legislation at any point. And as we said, I'm hoping to have that kind of forum. Jenny Bender sent a lot of good, I don't know if you got that email, sent a lot of good suggestions. I see the mayor and Councilor Stratton. Mayor, Councilor Stratton, do you want to say something? And then
So the word performative came up a little bit ago, and it just got me thinking, because what is really performative here, what is pure theater, is ICE. This is not effective law enforcement. This is for show. And grabbing people off the street, unfortunately, we're at a point where that sells well in some quarters. And, you know, if they grab the wrong person, I mean, that's not collateral damage. That's part of the point. It's the policing of who belongs in America. And that's what's getting really scary. And, you know, you have a president who's sort of implying that he's going to go invade New York City next because the mayor said something he didn't like, you know. And so that image, you know, news image of grabbing people off the street, particularly if it's in a different community. Oh, we don't agree with how they do things over there. You know, the way that plays well, I mean, you know, as our Councilor Mariori's comment, the gang of racist bullies, and the bullying is the point, or as, you know, many editorials have said, the cruelty is the point. We're responding to this with the power of speech as a body. You know, as I said last time, we're not legislating, we're speaking. I do think we could have spoken a little bit more strongly in our calls, but I'm not going to debate that. I do want to just take a momentary divergence to tie this to a comment that was made earlier this evening, where the gentleman who unfortunately has gone home, but Nick Modern, was sort of, you know, asking for a Q&A at the end of the council sessions. And I don't think that's going to happen for a bunch of complicated reasons. But it reminds me that he and many others have often called upon us to do things that are not within our power. And as I, you know, explored running for government and, you know, became an office holder, one of the things that I think is really the biggest part of my job is understanding what we can do and what we can't do and what the pathways are. And I wish that maybe just, you know, individually we had better conversations with our constituents about, you know, what the council can and can't do. But tonight, you know, we are using this very important secondary power, which is the power to speak as a body by resolving something that, we can't literally take action, but we can say this is what we feel. And I'm very glad that, you all have drafted this statement and refined it with community input. And I think that this is, I like to focus on our local issues, but yes, this is our national issue of our time. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Okay, Mayor?
So I also want to add my thanks to the counselors for this resolution. And that I'm assuming it will be added to the city's history in speaking out and creating policy and law. And I just wanted to kind of go through some of the other things. So in addition to the Safe City Ordinance that I co-sponsored as a counselor, that's referenced in the resolution, I also wanted to recognize that in 2011, the City Council adopted a resolution of the Northampton City Council on the Secure Communities Program, expressing its opposition to federal immigration enforcement programs and urging the city to prioritize community trust and public safety. And then in 2014, former Mayor David Narkowitz signed an executive policy order, which I still follow as mayor, which formally prohibits the Northampton Police Department from honoring ICE detainer requests that are non-criminal and not supported by a judicial warrant. So this is being added to sort of and then there were the two statements that since the current president's been elected, we've put out two statements reaffirming all of that's come before. And that is followed with the ordinance. And now we will be able to add this to that list of ways that Northampton has stated how they feel on this issue. So I thank you all very much.
Thank you. Councilor Perry, I'm just checking in. Okay. Okay,
Let's say
guys.
goodnight to a kid.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get you there even faster because we're going to vote. If no one has any more comments, there's a motion on the floor, correct?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, there is. Councilor Stratton and was seconded by Councilor Dubbs. So there's a motion on the floor for approval. So roll call, Laura.
Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Councilor Robbins.
Yes.
Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yeah. Excuse me, yes.
Councilor Dubbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
And Councilor Navad.
Yes.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And let's see, we have only any new business?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, let me just check in. Any new business? No, okay. Yeah, okay, so we have a motion to adjourn, seconded by motion made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Clemmer. Roll call, please, Laura, on adjournment.
Sure. Councilor Robbins.
Yeah.
Councilor Stratton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Dobbs.
Yes.
Councilor Clemmer.
Yes.
Councilor Loisel.
Yes.
Councilor Maori.
Yes.
Councilor Navad.
Yes.
And Councilor Perry.
Yes.
Okay. We are so adjourned. Excellent work, counselors. Good night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.